Live.
It's live.
Living the live.
I don't see it live on the YouTube yet.
No, it's on.
It is live. There it is. Okay.
Man, today was a whirlwind just because, or the last couple days, because, like, there's all this news, like, holy shit, John Dehlin is saying, like, really reasonable stuff that, is not part of blue church dogma. And we're like, oh, and then today it's like, oh, nope, never mind. Oh, whoops. Sorry, false alarm, everybody. He's still a jackass.
So fast.
Do you want me to do our ad read?
Yeah.
I have an ad read for us, okay?
All right.
Please tell me it's for Thrive.
The paper tiger crumbles. The plastic world, a mirage. You got your phone, a glowing ghost in your hand. But reality is cold and hard. It is a glint of gold, a primal truth whispering across the millennia. Do you trust the promises of men grown fat in soft chairs, or the system built upon sand? Birch gold. Gold, not a fleeting fancy, but a timeless shield against the coming storm. When the house of cards falls, what will you hold? Paper promises, or the immutable truth of gold? Choose wisely.
Did you just read the actual Birch Gold copy as
What's that?
Herzog? Is that actual Birch Gold copy, or did you write that?
No, I actually I forgot I was going to write it earlier, so I just plugged into AI. I was like,
Oh,
can you
okay.
read a snarky ad read for Birch Gold in the style of Werner Herzog?
It's able to do that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I kind of wonder, I mean, will they even need advertisers before long?
Well,
Like my uncle he had a really great career producing ads for 40 years. But like, I kind of wonder at this point.
Well, since we are going to be covering Black Menaces, I wanted to start with a type of recognition really quickly.
People are desperately seeking realness.
I feel like nobody's talking about the systemic plot in America that disproportionately affects the Black population here in the United States. It's one of those things that if you're close to the communities that are affected, you would really understand. But if you're not, it's something that kind of just goes behind the scenes, and you don't really hear about it much. So studies show that 90% of the lowest grade quality of glycine is marketed and imported into Black communities. And one of the reasons why I truly believe that the government is trying to block TikTok is to make sure that the Black community never figures out about Don Juan Geelong's high quality food grade and industrial grade glycine. And it's a shame because it can change communities forever. We just had that information.
It's systemic everywhere.
It's all systems.
It's systemic systems and everything. Did you get to watch the whole Black Menaces?
No, I watched like the 2 minutes. It's just little things that you guys reference, like check this thing out, but I barely watched it. But like, just listening to you, just watching you guys comment on it was incredible. Just especially again, like compared to like the last couple of days when you guys were talking about. Oh, for a moment I thought you were having Shima Hong, but
nope.
That's just the when you have the tea, the mate tea, and the Oya. Like if you just make tea, it's just tea. But if you do like the traditional thing where it's like the grass clipping mud, that's called shimahong.
Oh, yeah. What is it, booze?
No, machi, that green grassy green tea stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all over South America.
They are obsessed with it in southern Brazil, though. Like, they'll most of the flags of that Rio Grande do Sul state that I was in. Like anytime somebody prints out a flag, they usually include a kuya with shimahong in it. It's
like
pretty
the symbol.
awesome.
Like there's a Peruvian market in town, and like an entire little cove of their store is just the mate room. Like,
Wow.
they've got like multiple shelves, just like, you know, all kinds of flavored mate from all over, different cuts of mate. It's crazy. But yeah, like they're nuts about it. But yeah, in America, that's one thing I like. Man, when I in the grocery store and there's those fucking yerba mate drinks they sell. Like a couple of times, I'm just like, okay, like I'm just doing this to get pissed off. Like the last one, I'm like, you motherfuckers, this is apple juice. You fucking assholes.
I've never tried it.
You put a hint of fucking mate in apple juice, you dickheads.
Oh man.
So did you guys see a new Taylor Swift album dropped?
Okay, I want to find the video of her dancing like
news.
an absolute retard. What was that? Like that was
That's from one of her videos or something, dancing
I
like
know,
Golem or something like that.
It's like, what is that? You look so goofy. I don't know. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the Taylor Swift drama, but that I want to get like that on a loop and just set it as my screensaver.
Like Taylor Swift in so many ways, like it's just so utterly boring. Where it's like I don't understand. Like I don't know, just everything. Like when people say like, "Oh, we're mad," or like, you know, like when people say like, "Oh, people are mad at Taylor Swift," it's like, no, the football fans were mad that they tuned into a football game, and for some reason they kept looking at Taylor Swift, and they were just annoyed. But also everybody understands why. But like, okay, like so she's an attractive, talented singer who happens to be at the top of music right now. Okay, like when has that ever happened before? You know, and that's things like to Taylor Swift's credit, like she and her handlers seem to like keep her like, you know, she's never mouthed off. You know, like what's the big Taylor Swift scandal that she tweeted something? You know, like I don't think it's ever happened.
They
right?
find ways to hate her. Oh, trust me. Actually, most of what I had was Taylor Swift stuff till tonight until John Dehlin swooped in and saved the day. John Dehlin came in and did I guess what we call that a Jenkins.
Yeah. Like you know, like I feel like, you know, like Taylor Swift is like Lifetime TV programming. You know, it's paint by numbers. It's done exactly right. It's, you know, the audience laps it up. Okay.
Do you not know that one of her lyrics this time was, "I dream I was in the 1830s, but without all the racism." And
that was like the rough draft of that lyric too. That was like, she's like, okay, I want something kind of like if I lived in the 1830s without racism, but like, you know, obviously artistic. And they're like, nah, just do that.
Okay, like because I mean,
but
like,
it set people off.
If we could get rid of all the racism in the world, like here's the things. Like, what if Taylor Swift? Here's the deal. Like the magic genie comes down and tells Taylor Swift, all racism will be gone, but for the rest of your life, you have to shit in a pot because you want it to be 1830 without racism. And like that's the devil's bargain. You have to shit in a pot. Everyone else gets to keep using toilets, but Taylor Swift, you're gonna have to take that pot with you on your airplane. You're gonna have to take that pot with you to the venue. You shit in a chamber pot, and in exchange, there's
I don't
no.
even know if it would take that. I think all you do is like you're gonna have to fly coach from now on. You know?
Yeah, I know that's the thing. Yeah, that's really killer. I don't know. That's like again, like I also like when people are like, oh, like wouldn't it be nice to be Taylor Swift? Like, no, like Taylor Swift cannot walk to 7-Eleven for Doritos on her own at 2 a.m. if she feels like it. Like, which is something I can do.
It probably sucks to be here in quite a few ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh god,
like,
that's so funny. This looks like exactly like something my little sister would do, like in public to embarrass the rest of the family on purpose.
I mean, okay.
It's just
like I mean, because that's the other thing though. It's like because I mean, in the world of dancing, it's kind of like guitar solo. Like what note hasn't been played and what dance move hasn't been done.
Well, you know, like, it's just not.
What's tripping me out? This is Royce Lopez. Royce Lopez is from the Revenge of the Cis podcast, which it's very weird that I know that podcast because that is a niche weird podcast, and that podcast is totally like variety stuff, but it's like a feminine Latter-day Saint is commenting on what Royce Lopez posted of her looking retarded. I don't know.
Is this real? Is this Christopher posted supposedly an Eminem quote? Is that real? I can't take a shit in a bathroom without someone standing by it. no, I won't sign your autograph. You can call me an asshole.
I don't know. I believe that.
I totally believe it. I just
Yeah.
that's a hilarious quote.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine being so famous somebody waited outside the bathroom for an autograph like that with you? I'd get called an asshole pretty darn quick if I was a famous person. I'd dip well though. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
um,
that would be a tough one because, like, I know I'm trying to think of who it was. I know I've heard people talk about this where they're like, on the one is like, they want to be nice and they want to talk to everybody, but like at the same time, like,
don't stick your
gotta
head
live
under
your
the
life.
stall.
Yeah. It's like that where it's like, because I can imagine, like, it would be really nice to have a whole bunch of people who just want to talk to you, but also maybe just want to go home, take a shower, put on your pajamas and watch TV.
Turn it off or
You know?
whatever.
Yeah, but
I
like,
don't know.
no,
The
you
one
gotta
I
be
always-
with your line of fans.
The one I always felt bad for was Justin Bieber because, man, people were fucking mean to him. And that's what I always point to. And the only time Taylor Swift really annoyed me was with that "If I Was a Man" song. And because she's talking about how much less shit she would have gotten if she was a man. And I'm like, have you met Justin Bieber? Because
Yeah,
I mean, he did some dumb shit, but that was like after we treated him like dog shit for most of his life. Like he was 12 when people started treating him like crap.
Nobody ever made fun of Justin Timberlake. That never happened.
Yeah.
Do you want some Taylor critical theory from some critical Taylor Swift theory from our favorite ex-Mormon brainiac chick?
Christ.
Yes.
Is she gonna explain to us how it's okay for Taylor Swift to?
Doesn't she know the famous ex-Mormons just love him? Like Zelf and Kara just worship. They worship the Taylor. They worship the Taylor. I watched this.
Like I know they're trying to like joke around and be all lighthearted and shit when they make that joke of like, oh, I don't care about Taylor's carbon footprint. She's the exception. But I'm like, no, that's actually really annoying that you're saying that. Actually, like there's some poor dude that just wants to go to work in his like 98 Suburban that he fixed up, but you don't want him to drive that. You want him to buy a more expensive car. But Taylor Swift is totally fine emitting more than 1,000 of those guys would do in their entire life in a week.
It reminds me today, like there's a winemaker. So many winemakers have this dumb shit. Like there's a box of wine by a winemaker. It says 1% for the planet. It's like, okay, wait a second. If you cared about the planet, stop making fucking wine. Oh, you're gonna give 1% back? Like
everybody's full of shit. I was talking about that stupid comedy with John Cena that came out, and in that comedy, there's this moment where he's brought to the board meeting, and in the board meeting, he saves the day in the board meeting because he suggests to them implementing ESG into their company. This big dumb galoot. They're like, "Don't you have any good ideas?" And he's there as a fake. He doesn't know anything about the world. So he just says, "Well, how about if we do good stuff for everybody, and everything we do is good for the planet? Everybody will just give us more money." Whoa, John Cena's a genius. And then you got to realize that all the ESG stuff was always stuff done by people with minds of children in this world. Let's listen to her. It's going to be super duper deep, man. Going deep, going through. She's one of the ex-Mormon TikTokers. You remember, she's always kind of got gal
TikTok handle.
What is she? Carol? C-A-R-O.
Oh, Carol Claire. Okay.
She's responding to a comment she got of, "I just keep thinking that if she was a man, she would never face the scrutiny. It's classic tear a woman down when she's up."
Okay, I am so sick of this narrative with Taylor Swift in particular.
I mean, she would face different scrutiny.
About 5 years now. Like, yes, on the one hand, Taylor Swift has faced things that a man never would. All female performers face things that their male counterparts don't. And simultaneously, because she is a woman, not just a woman, a white woman representing Americana, she has been able to successfully tap into one of the biggest consumer demographics, which is white women between the ages of like 15 and 40. And she has been able to harness in a very authentic way American girlhood. A man could never do that. So I almost view it as like a part one and a part two. Yes, I think that this conversation is relevant, especially in part one of her career, in that she underwent such profound misogyny and had to reinvent herself like all other female performers. But we are now in part 2 of the conversation, which is a phase of her career which is so far beyond the first phase and which is so worth interrogating and engaging with. And to assign her these victimhood tags when she is now one of the wealthiest people in the world, by far the most powerful person in Hollywood, by far the most successful performers of our generation, then it's embarrassing. You can talk about all of the ways in which she has overcome adversity, and that is interesting. But you also
Wasn't she
have
born
go
to,
on
like,
the second part of the conversation.
multi-millionaires? Like, she grew up on
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a Kentucky estate with a stable of horses.
Yeah.
Oh, she really overcame. Oh man, God, just how hard
She
was that
overcame the
for Taylor?
sexism
You know, 'cause
because
this is the thing, like,
there was
'cause I'm
never
the one who,
any
like,
like female starlets who were
yeah,
with the,
like that's because I'm right down the middle of this, because, like, because that's the other hand when people are like, Taylor Swift, it's like, no, look, she clearly works very hard. She is a dedicated performer, right? She's
But
obviously
she's
put
very
an
good to her
enormous
fans.
amount. Yeah, she's put a lot into her craft, so she deserves everything she gets from that. But like the whole time, oh, she overcame adversity. No, she didn't.
Oh, come on. Well, I remember watching her, not the most
Like-
recent documentary, because she's had 2 documentaries done about her already. And I watched the first one, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because like it tries to open up on like this relatable note and like get you to feel bad for her. And it's because her like 6th consecutive album didn't immediately go platinum. Like, I'm not even kidding. It opens
Yeah.
and she's like on the phone with her agent, like, oh, is it have we gotten any calls from no word agencies? Oh no, it's fine, it's fine. And she gets off the phone and looks at the camera. She's like, it will be fine. It'll be okay. Maybe it's just taking a little while. And it's exactly like that scene in Pop Star with Andy Samberg. But it's hilarious because they bring up the whole thing with Kanye that happened to her, and she's just talking about how terrible that was to go through. And I was like, why was that terrible? Like, everybody was on your side. Like, the whole world united and was like, he was being a drunk asshole to this,
no doubt in the
like,
moment you're like, what the
19-year-old
fuck?
woman.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
no doubt in
and
the moment you're like,
everybody,
just what the fuck, but like, yeah,
and it made everybody like you
hard-
more.
Yeah. Like, yeah, everybody thought you were the winner after that. That's the other thing. Like, I mean, because like, first off, I know this is a two-edged sword. I can't imagine what it'd be like to have this, but like, because I'm trying to like, was there ever a time in Taylor Swift's life that like she walked into a room and she wasn't the most attractive, popular, wealthy person in the room? Like, I imagine even when she like when she was a little girl, she was probably the most popular girl in the room because she was a 6-year-old girl in her house and everybody loves the daughter, right? But like, seriously, like, when was the last time Taylor like walked into a place and wasn't number one? Like, where has she ever gone that there wasn't somebody ready to fold themselves into many shapes to just do what she wants, to make her happy?
It is I don't even like the whole concept of privilege thing, because like everybody has challenges in life that are extremely difficult for them. I would not want Taylor Swift's life, but there is no more privileged life in the history of humans. And at the same time, I don't care if that
I mean, that's
she
like,
has what she has and gets what she gets and does what she
because
does.
that thing is like, I guess you can never walk down to 7-Eleven at 2 a.m. and buy a bag of Doritos, but at 2 a.m. she could buy an aircraft. Like, that's the thing she can do that I can't do,
Yeah.
But I don't
know.
Where she is now the one.
So I mean, I saved like a bunch of people read through her lyrics, and if TikTok was kind of mean, I'd say it was pretty mean. So, like, so many people like listened to her lyrics and said, "Wait, what is this shit? Like, isn't she 35?" And all of them are saying it just sounds like a teenage girl's diary or something like that. And I guess I could show a couple of those, but these are the deeper critical theories. You thought I was going into Black Menace's critical theory? Here's the problem with Black Menaces. They don't even really know critical race theory very well. They're just at Kendi level. They're just like, people don't know, like D'Angelo and Kendi hardly even reach to the level of Kimberly Crenshaw and Derek Bell, who are also dipshits, but much smarter dipshits than Kendi and D'Angelo. But here's some critical deep thoughts on Taylor Swift, because it's got to be deep, man.
In control. Otherwise, you are going to misunderstand all of the moves that she is making from this point forward, and you are also going to reinforce dangerous stereotypes and assumptions about feminist beliefs in the meantime. And like, I get it. I get that sexism never goes away. I get that extremely powerful women can still find themselves in rooms with men who aren't listening to their opinions. But it's so interesting to me how Taylor Swift's brand and making of her identity is so.
Has that ever happened to Taylor
powerful. They're
Swift?
telling us-
When do you think the last time? When do you think the last time anybody even attempted to mansplain something to Taylor Swift? Like, anybody in a room with her, in her board of people who help her write her music, when's the last time she said something and a man has just dismissed it outright based on her being a woman, or dismissed it at
What
all?
were you talking, Taylor? Sorry, were you talking? I'm being a man
Jesus.
over here. I don't care what you
The
said.
men
I
are
like this.
talking, you dumbass.
Did this ever happen with Taylor Swift? Stephen Hicks posted it. A lady just asked me what mansplaining is. I think it's a trap. We've been staring at each other in silence for a half an hour.
I was like, but this this is just that dumb feminist article of faith that just this weird idea is like she's never had, or like whatever, it's like she's had her opinion ignored by men like women always do. Like, you really think that we just walk around and our opinion is just taken and nobody pushes back, nobody ever ignores us, nobody ever shuts us down? Like, and I know that you think that because you're a feminist dope.
Like,
you think like
I
Nazi.
think that most people,
So,
I usually give people the benefit of the doubt that most people can probably understand the life experience of somebody that they are not, right? But I don't grant that to most feminists. You know what I'm saying? Because
you can't be alive on Earth.
I can put myself in the position of a woman and say, there's got to be a lot of ways that it sucks more to be a woman, right? Like, obviously, menstruation, that's got to suck. Childbirth's difficult. You're physically weaker and stuff like that. And there's a lot of ways that it sucks. And men laugh at your jokes when they're not funny. So your funny muscle atrophies and you're never able to be funny. So, but anyway, and people might hit on you when it's not appropriate. Or I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. But I do not think your average feminist is anywhere even close to the ballpark of what it's like to actually be a man. Because anytime they explain to me what it's like being a man, like one woman seriously told me in an ex-Mormon thing the other day, like, I bet like you ex-Mormon men were raised to believe that you're the catch in the relationship. And I was like, what fucking world do you live in?
On what planet?
How do you look at any of this and not know that the opposite?
This lady was raised Mormon and somehow never came across any instance of a man's opinion being ignored by a woman. Like, you lived in Utah, you went to school, you've had jobs, you've ridden the bus, you've shopped, you've had coworkers, and you think that that's a thing that happens to women and not to men. Like, it's insanity. It's really, like, I mean, it's delusion. It is a level of delusion. It is flat earth levels of delusion.
Yep. Back to the plan. Where was it?
So effective that so much of her fan base is still engaging with her work and defending her as a persona as if she is still a 17-year-old. Guys, she is one of the most influential, powerful, successful, financially strapped people on the planet in the history of humanity. She is, as an artist, as a businesswoman, as a person of influence, so far from the girl who sang Mean on the banjo at the Grammys. And my hottest take of all is that only the truest fans of her music actually engage with what that means, with the weirdness of her corporate deals, with all of the strangeness of her marketing moves, her business savvy, how cutthroat she is at keeping her fan base engaged. All that gross celebrity shit,
cutthroat,
dark underbelly.
She's a real fan. She's still gonna buy it all.
Cutthroat. She's cutthroat.
That's tough to engage with. And
like, wait, what? Like, see, this is that whole thing where it's like, the man made me go home.
You want the explanation? She had like an explanation of all of her stuff. If you want to hear it,
it's funny, Taylor Swift is cutthroat with her fans. Like, she puts.
No, she thinks cutthroat with becoming a billionaire.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I'll show you. Here.
Didn't she give like all of the truck drivers that helped her with her tour like a massive like 6-figure bonus or some shit like that?
You shut up.
What do you mean by cutthroat?
I know, you're so weird. Yeah, no.
I've got it here. She explains why she thinks she's a nasty, wasty billionaire.
Marty said, "Does it suck to not be able to find anything, boys? Just curious." No, it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck because I have a wife. I just say, "Hey, do you know where I put my backpack that I haven't touched in like 5 weeks?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, do you remember you said I'm gonna put this in this weird spot and it's right under the stairs," something like that.
My secret is just to not have any stuff, and then I just don't.
Oh yeah, that does it.
Man,
all right, I'm speeding her up, but here's her explanation on that.
Got to stop with like this weird morally driven fan project of trying to argue that Taylor Swift became a billionaire, the first billionaire, by selling only her music alone. That's just like so not true, and I want to go through that really quickly. Number one, let's get aligned on the fact that billionaires should not exist. In a functional capitalist economy, in any functional economy, we would not be celebrating any billionaire. There is no scenario in which someone becomes a billionaire by being an artist. You become a billionaire by pushing product at a global scale and by taking advantage of a series of chains of exploitation for human labor. That is how you become a billionaire. Full stop. Number two, I doesn't leverage her namesake.
You stop laughing. Gosh dang, I'm trying to show you.
Okay. I've heard people complain.
Some scholarly material here. We're gonna get through the scholarly, the Black Menaces. We're gonna get through the scholarly, Swifty.
Hang on a sec. Like I've heard a lot of criticisms of Taylor Swift. Exploiting human labor has never been one of them.
I can't even with you guys.
I'm gonna find out what size bonus she gave all the truckers because it was big. But you keep going.
To have certain brand deals that she could. And I have noticed that and I do appreciate it. I think that it is a brand strategy, but I prefer that brand strategy. Like I do think it helps you kind of stay connected with her music, but that's not accidental. And that doesn't mean that she doesn't partner with brands. Taylor Swift has like a very white collar approach to brand partnerships. Remember her Capital One partnership, which is still ongoing? Remember how you had to sign up for a credit card to get access to the Eras Tour ticket presale? When you think about the implications of that she is partnering with major credit card companies in order to give people access to her tour dates, that is a pretty major partnership with pretty major implications for her fans. And when you think about the option was to get...
I don't know if you noticed, but the implications of those were major.
Okay.
What do you guys have to say for major implications?
Because here's the thing I always think is funny. Is like, wait, I've already noticed. Like, okay, there's a. Why is offering people credit bad? Like were some of Taylor Swift's fans, I don't know, black women? Should they not have access to credit? Is that bad?
You can't critical theory back when we're critical theory.
Is it bad to offer people credit on a voluntary basis?
Okay, so how's this for major implications? And yeah, Forrest is in there like quoting me. Don't make me defend Taylor Swift, please don't.
That's all we're up to lately is making ourselves defend people we don't want to defend.
I mean, I spent 8 years now doing that with Trump already, but. Okay, so
we were going to defend if the Black Menaces video didn't drop. We were going honestly, right? We were going to give John Dehlin a glowing review tonight. Yeah. So, okay, Swift stunned the tour's trucking staff by giving each truck driver a check in the amount of $100,000. The superstar paid more than $50 million of her own money in bonuses to hundreds of support staff for her record-breaking tour, along with handwritten notes.
Oh,
yeah, she seems like I mean, she's wrong about a lot of things. I don't really care for her music, but she seems like a good person.
That thing's like, I mean, okay, her music. I'm gonna convince you guys. I've got so many TikToks to convince you guys. I know we got other Dehlin stuff, but I'm gonna convince you. I've said for ages, because Taylor Swift does to my ears what Barefoot Moscato does to my mouth. Like, I get it. Now I understand. I get it, and I'm not interested. You have fun. I'm not. I don't like it. But it's not because it's broken. It's not because it's wrong. It's doing its job exactly as it was intended to do. I just hate sugary, juicy garbage in my ears and mouth.
You doing Flip's Booze Corner on Barefoot Moscato?
It wasn't always. It was just a Beanie Baby wine picture. We'll go back to this gal. I'm going to convince you guys. If you don't believe her, I've got one from...
No, I'm going to be a fucking Swiftie after this. I'm going like...
No.
I'm a reactionary Swiftie.
I've got... Coming after this, I've got Dr. Bitchcraft coming up. You think you can survive an episode of Dr. Bitchcraft? Your Swifty's going down.
That's a funny name. Give her that.
Sale or to buy tickets for thousands of dollars, it's a pretty huge incentive for someone to sign up for a credit card and then end up spending money and paying interest on credit card fees. Number 2, Target. Any fan of Taylor Swift knows that there has been a Target deal for decades now. Like you go and you get the Target Deluxe CD to get like that one extra special song, which basically means that you're paying like between $25 and $45 between the CD and the vinyl for one extra song that you can't get on streaming. That is not
Okay, don't do it.
That is a product push. That is nurturing.
What I
Of
love
course
about
it
this
is.
This gal just keeps admitting to just buying all of it.
like we're saying, this is
These people are exploiting me again and again and again. When I bought this and when I
this
bought
is like
this
the
and when I bought
communism.
this.
It's communism through and through. It's like, first off, fuck Taylor Swift for being rich. Also, fuck Taylor Swift for taking my money. Also,
my
why
money
the fuck
twice.
does it cost money?
She took my money a third time. She took my money a fourth time this week. She took my money a fifth time this week.
Every
Turn
time
on
she
TV
offers
fans,
a product
whereby
for sale, she takes my money.
Spend more money, you are also making them feel like they're a part of a group. That is very, very savvy marketing and is very, very useful in becoming a billionaire. Which brings us to number 3.
I
These
just want to
series of
know that
multiple
she bought the Taylor Swift vinyl with her Capital One credit card.
releases for every single album. Last time I checked, Midnight's had 19 different versions. Some of them are free, some of them you can get online, but many of them were CDs and special vinyl editions, and a lot of fans end up buying all of them in order to get access to every single color.
All on YouTube.
Stop
Vinyl.
buying them, you fucking idiot.
I wonder what
Little track
fan
is-
is short for.
All the versions are on YouTube.
What's that
I
word,
know.
you lady?
Just listen to YouTube like a normal person, you fucking moron.
Yeah, no,
Hundreds
that's
of
the other
dollars
thing. Like
for a
in
single
78 years, somebody's gonna have a Taylor Swift collection of shitty Target vinyl. It's gonna sell at Sotheby's auction for
Sure.
$28 billion.
40 million bucks. Taylor Swift's one buying an offer and then calling herself oppressed for that person holding her own music against her.
album. This is not something you do if you're just being an artist. This is something you do if you want to make money. You tell your rabid fans that there is a special bonus track here and a special bonus track there, and they have to keep buying your album again and again to access it. This, I think, has reached like new levels in the last few years. I think that Taylor Swift has always done this, and for a long time I didn't mind it. Like I didn't mind paying extra to get the bonus tracks at Target. But like even
How
with
have I made it this long without giving Taylor Swift my money? I don't know how. I ride the bus, I shop, I have a credit card, and yet Taylor Swift has somehow managed to not get a goddamn dime out of me. How did I pull that off? How am I so
I'm
special?
so fortunate.
You're a Sigma
to
male.
never have been-
You're a Sigma male. You're operating outside of the system. He's breaking the system. He's got no social security number, folks. He's outside the matrix.
This feels exactly like working at the movie theater. I got so tired when I was selling concessions of people and like I'm this high school kid working for nothing so I can go like fund my trip to Brazil to teach people about Jesus. And they're like, oh man, this is highway robbery. I was like, no, it's not. You're not on a highway. You're in a fucking movie theater, and you can have a goddamn modicum of self-control and just not buy the gigantic box of fucking popcorn and gigantic drink for $16, you fat fuck. Oh my god.
Hold on a second.
Like
I've
my
got a
mom, my first lesson I learned about the theater from my mom is you smuggle the candy in mom's purse.
Oh, for sure. That's also what I said. I was like, just snake candy in like a normal person, you dipshit.
Yeah, you dipshit. Like, you don't complain to me because you didn't think to put a Hershey's in your pocket.
I have a question for you guys first. I need to make a test right now. See this question on the screen? What do 2 and 7 have in common?
It's the worst hand in Texas Hold'em.
What do they have in common?
Yeah, well,
They're-
you guys.
They
give
are
me
whole
your
integers.
answer.
They are 2 whole integers on the positive side of the number line.
Okay, hang on. No. You're thinking too patriarchal. You gotta. There's gonna be some feminist bullshit.
It's 2 is the number of miles men have to drive for a haircut on average versus 7
Oh, is
miles.
it?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
proportion. It's some type of a ratio. Yeah, for like women only get 3. I don't know, scoops of ice cream for every 7.
Yeah,
men
no,
get.
Wrong, both of
7
you. Any other guesses? I'm going to tell you right.
7
Reese
ninths.
guessed that they're prime, but
Right from my first start, my first guess is that they both had like slashes over like to the left. They're the only numbers that like are shaped like that. And what the question is it's a question on an autism exam. And non-autistic people
hilarious.
just numbers, they're numbers. And autistic people say everything else in the world except that they're numbers. I was just checking. I had a hunch.
Wait a minute, are we the autistic heroes of the week?
I guess I gotta pull up. They came through.
I was wondering why you were laughing so much. Every time you laughed, I kept thinking we must be getting closer.
Okay.
I want to see the rest of the autism test. What other kind?
Okay, now we're the autistic heroes of the week, folks. We're all neurodivergent here, so we're excused of all our calling of others of retards because we're just one of them ourselves. But at the same time, too, that's why all you Dehlinites and whatever have to worry about us or have to leave us alone because we can't help but look at you and see something different.
Have you listened to Ryan Adams' cover of Taylor Swift's album?
Wait.
No.
Ryan Adams covered an entire
Ryan Adams.
Yeah, Ryan, the good one.
Yeah.
Not the Canadian
good one.
hack, the ultra talented
and it's fucking good. It's 1989. And
Ryan Adams, like, it hurts my soul that guy is that fucking talented. Man, I saw him at Red Rocks.
Listen
anyway,
to the whole album's pretty cool.
Taylor Swift.
He did a cover of like that song "Style." You probably remember it if you heard it, but he turned it into like an 80s rock anthem. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, see, this makes sense because, like, Taylor Swift has a team of songwriters, and Ryan Swift has Ryan Swift. Ryan Adams is ultra talented musician and surrounded by incredible musicians. So yeah, that makes total sense. And like Pearls on a String, that one off. Like that song's, that album's almost 20 years now. But that Ryan Adams song, Pearls on a String, like it's the most crushingly beautiful thing. Anyway.
Poets, when I'm seeing like all the different vinyls and people spending hundreds of dollars to just get one comprehensive album, it's pretty wild to me. Lastly, number 4, Taylor Swift has done a perfume line and she has done a clothing line. Really interestingly, in 2015, 2016 is when she last did like a clothing line. And do you know where she did it and launched it? In China exclusively, to nurture the fan base and to keep her demographic in the US from changing its relationship to her. This is the same thing that actors will do, where they will take a huge chunk of cash to do like a commercial in an overseas demographic. Like they'll do like a coffee commercial or a toy commercial. And they do it because they know that American audiences aren't going to see it and therefore aren't going to change their relationship or dim their perception of them as like a Hollywood star. This happens all the time. You can Google this. Taylor Swift did a whole clothing.
You are 30 years past reality. Like, this was a famous thing this was the dirty secret of A-list actors in the 80s and 90s. A-list actors have been doing Super Bowl ads for 15 years now, lady. Like, it's another hatchling thing. Did you just wake up?
Does she just hate Taylor Swift? Like, she seems like this big fan that just also hates her.
Well, no, there's obviously a lot of like, Kate.
But this is one of my contention with the critical eye people is like at the same time, like John Dehlin can't have the Black Menaces on for long before they don't start deciding he's also a racist. Yeah. That's just all there is to it.
Like, look, this woman has put herself in an impossible situation because like she is white, middle class, educated, and a neo-Marxist. Like,
and she's getting TikTok views. She's pulling those TikTok views away.
And by the way, it's like this all I do. She's like, how dare Taylor Swift try to get attention from people in the hopes that it turns into money? Says the lady on TikTok who makes money on TikTok.
Yeah, well, she just got more of that. Is that Taylor Swift's super evil because she figured out other ways to make money besides just playing the banjo, which I don't think she really plays the banjo.
Taylor Swift is prettier than you, a better singer than you, a better dancer than you, a harder worker than you. She was born richer than you. She's probably luckier than you. Like, what's the mystery, lady?
Well, this lady's gonna really take her down. This is
oh boy,
Dr. Bitchcraft.
So little did I know that Taylor Swift was literally going to prove the point that I was making in the videos I made a few weeks ago. So let's talk about that 1830s line in her latest song. And I also want to do it while talking about the abortion law in Arizona from 1864. Because I'm seeing a lot of discourse around that 1864 abortion law
Discourse.
that's kind of leaving out key context. Because I'm hearing people say things like the age of consent was only 9 years old and women didn't have the right to vote and Arizona wasn't even a state yet. And it seems like it's a very like white lens to filter it through. Like, for example, talking about age of consent. Like slavery was still legal then. That was
I'm
not
starting to enjoy this stuff, man.
You're white. Shut up.
You are filtering through a white lens right now.
thing
Yeah,
for them.
like,
At the
you-
same time that was happening, the father of
You're-
gynecology
You're
was
the equivalent of
experimenting-
like 2 whites, lady. Like,
The father of
on
gynecology was
enslaved black
experimenting
women.
on
He was
enslaved
performing
black women.
surgeries on them without anesthesia, sometimes dozens of surgeries on them. Like the idea that the age of consent was only 9 for certain people. You know, we talk about how women didn't have the right to
Wait
vote.
a minute. Was
Okay,
that white
well,
privilege?
White women with
So hang on. Was white privilege that you got to rape kids? Is that what she's saying? Like, I don't understand. Like, the age of consent was 9 for some people. Some lucky people got. I can't say the things I want to say in that joke.
were the ones who
White
gained the right to vote in the 1920s. Black women wasn't until the 1960s. And part of the reason white women gained the right to vote in the 1920s was through racism and disenfranchisement of marginalized groups.
Don't expose the Seneca Falls women. They're
Oh,
first-rate
but-
feminism. They're good.
God, yeah.
Saying that Arizona wasn't even a state then. Whose land did that belong to originally?
Yeah,
It is talking about these things.
it belonged to the
through one
Anasazi, you
lens,
dumb
the
maniac.
white experience of things. It is not broadening it to understand everything else that was happening and the context of that time to have a discussion
The
about
Mexicans, then the Anasazi, then the Kauai, then the...
Fucking
So the Anasazi died out like 1,800 years ago, and when they were pushed out by Pueblos and Hopis and Utes. Like, don't you know anything about the history of your country, lady?
Well, Taylor Swift gets all that just because she, I guarantee, just like took 30 seconds in her line of saying, I wish it was 1830, but then had like the quick, slight awareness that I know that now Dehlin and Britt and Carol all have, that you can't say anything about the past without recognizing the systemic systems of systemic systems back then. So she had to add into her poetry, except without racism. And it's such a
Well, I
shitty
feel like
line.
in 1864, the idea that abortion is not something that should be allowed, that's a white thing. That's what white people believe. But everybody else is like abortions. Whee!
Let's see what the line is. Control F 1830. I'd say, let's see, my friends used to play a game where we would pick a decade we wish we could live in instead of this. I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid.
This is a lyric?
That's the lyric. It's in the song I Hate It
That
Here.
sounds like it came from a blog post.
Well, I wonder, like, it's just because there's another thing. It's like, there are places in the world today, Taylor, where women are auctioned off for marriage, often to extended family members. It's nowhere where white people dominate.
So then there was a bunch of TikToks like this that were just reviewing her music.
Her
What's
music
wrong with her face?
is rhetoric being pushed by the media. So I'm going to go through Taylor Swift's discography of her most popular songs. Like I said, I don't listen to Taylor Swift, so I don't know. So I'm going to look up the song name and look up what it's about. We'll start with Fortnite. Fortnite is about a torrid, short-lived, but forbidden love affair that, as she says, has dramatic effects. I love you and it's ruining my life. Okay, so that one is about love. Not healthy love, fucked up love, unrequited love. The next song is Down Bad. Okay, so Down Bad is about the idea of being love bombed, where someone rocks your world and dazzles you and then kind of abandons you. Okay, sounds like another unhealthy relationship. The next one is Cruel Summer. I have heard that song, and Cruel Summer is about a love affair. Probably an unhealthy love affair because it's called Cruel Summer. The next song is I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I don't even think I need to look up what that one's about. I think we know what that one's about. Okay, the next one's the song August. August captures feelings of a teenage girl who goes through an unrequited love in the summer. Another unrequited love. The next one is Love of My Life. Like many of the other songs in Tortured Poets Department, the song is about heartbreak. Rather than Love of My Life, the title is Loss of My Life. Jesus Christ, guys. The next song is Lover, which we all know what that's about. More love song. I can't look up all these because it's just Karma is about revenge. My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys is about her unrequited love. Is It Over Now is about a breakup, unrequited love.
I'm understanding more why that
Don't
lady
Blame
hates
Me
herself so
about
much
revenge,
for liking
heartbreak.
Taylor Swift.
It's
It's all coming together now. It's like she just hates that she is into all this shit. and she
Yeah.
knows it, and she doesn't.
She's like, I should
Home
go to
math.
prison.
Taylor made me like Taylor.
Home Math did this real. I mean, Home Math vindicated the living crap out of Flip real quick. This is a short one, but listen to this one. Where's the volume on it?
Ghost face thirst talk. What is it? It is undeniable proof that I am correct about everything. 2.3 million likes, and here are the comments.
Don't run, guys. Ride. My clothes are off. Damn. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
From a movie. And what does he do? Well, he calls his victims on the phone, taunting or threatening them before stabbing them to death with an 8-inch hunting knife. And how do women feel about this?
I don't know what to feel. Don't know if I'm going straight to hell or if I'm just fucked up in the head. I'm definitely fucked up in the head. Yeah, that's it.
So I think what's happening here, I think what's happening here is that women are attracted to the mysteriousness of the mask, because as we know, it could not be violence in and of itself. That would be far too uncomfortable.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, and that chick hates that her unrequited love listening to Taylor Swift teenage songs. She's too much of a critical theorist to get wrapped up in that stuff. It's so funny because part of me just be like the songs, lady. I actually kind of like prefer Kara and Zelf just liking her, whatever.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
There's a lot of self-hatred that goes into liking Taylor Swift, apparently. I never realized that.
Well, no, again, like, I mean, if you're a feminist, yeah, no, there's a lot of issues. Like, you like her because you're, for all the reasons that all the other, because that's the other thing, like, let's be serious. Like, I'd actually I would love to know if we could get real numbers. What percent of Taylor Swift fans, like, what percent of Taylor Swift money came from men? Because I'm guessing it was less than 5%. I'm guessing. I'm just stab in the dark. That, like, all of the fandom driving the Taylor Swift billionaire machine is almost entirely female. Like, maybe there's some, like, creepy simp guys. I never forget, like, 20 years ago, my friend had a Britney Spears CD in his car. And I'm like, you are a 23-year-old man. What are you doing with this? He's like,
wait, was this one of your gay friends?
No, you know who it is, too. It's a friend of a friend. But I just remember thinking, because he's like, no, I like her. I'm like, no. Like, you think one day you'll be driving down the street and you'll see a hitchhiker and it'll be Britney Spears and she'll see her album in your dash and that's how it'll all come together.
And she'll bite your jugular because she's insane.
Like, yeah. She's like, I don't mind at all that you have a horrible disfiguring scar. You bought my album. I love you.
Jesus Christ.
This post from The Onion, it was forever ago, and that's why it was still funny. But it still holds true. Women take short half-hour break from being feminist to enjoy
10
TV
years
shows.
old. 10 years old.
It's so true. I mean, there's just so much, like, you're just so wrapped up in needing to have the critical theory in the world to enjoy anything. But what you gonna do? So I'm gonna delete all the rest of these Swiftie things because it was a bunch of bull crap. But should we get into the deliciousness of the day?
Oh boy. Well, we're gonna go with the good stuff first.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you have timestamps on that one? I guess Jonathan pulled out. We should also pull out Jonathan's Beautiful Trouble. Jonathan's been taking to kind of poking the bear over on Mormon Stories whenever something's said and just kind of saying like, hey, how come you can't question leftism so much? Let me pull up.
It was hilarious because he outlined several different premises and said, like, question these premises in a leftist circle and see if you are told that you're
istophobic in any way. And like one of the premises was trans women are women. Respond to that by saying no, they aren't. Or all white people are racist. Respond to that by saying no, they aren't. And the first guy that responded to him was like, that's a straw man. We never say that. And you're racist for refuting those things that we never say. It was hilarious because he played right into it. He was just like we don't say that you're racist for saying that those things that we don't say.
Yeah. What's the best clip to start on here with this one? I know Jonathan pulled some of them in a fancier way, but
He's a fancy pull.
I have them written down, but I have so many Black Menaces notes now. They're lost in there.
Dude, I know the Black Menaces thing. Like, I only got halfway through it because
I got all the way through it.
Fucking hours.
I listened to all 5 hours, and I'm
Jesus
dumb now.
Christ.
Children, let's see.
Did you do it on double speed?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd go triple.
Oh
if I
yeah.
couldn't. I listened to Terrell Givens' book on triple speed. I had because I could listen out on Audible. Audible could go all the way up to 4 times, but even I can't follow 4 times the speed. But I could listen to Terrell Givens on triple speed. Let's see here. So, when she talked about atheism, emancipation, mystic Jesus, she goes in kind of after progressive Christian, mystic Christians. And damn it, I had. What was a thing that she said that? Let's just go to leftism. The word leftism is that they use that word, right?
They do. Well, leftist. I know. Yes, I thought about that after he commented that. I was like, that'd be kind of nice, you know.
He said something about Trump.
Yeah, he said a lot about, like, he actually started naming good things about Trump, and I was like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, like it'd be fun. Like what if we just put it to the feminists? Like, no, let's switch. Like, you can make all the money, you'll be the CEOs, and you'll die in the wars, and you'll get the Vietnam Memorial, and like, even though you make most of the money, we will spend most of the money. Like, let's switch. Let's do it.
That's a bit of what that whole drizzle meme was. Like, how do you guys like it if we act like all we need to bring to the table is ourselves, really, and then you pay for everything? And if you don't pay for everything, I'll be upset about that. Like, I get that there's trade-offs. I get that it's not that obtuse, like one direction. But there are trade-offs. Like, if you swapped, you would have to deal with the opposite things, and we would have to deal with the
How about that, ladies? How about like we'll swap, and you will go to the doctor as often as men do. We'll swap. We'll switch.
Hole that's left by the death of God is often filled first by a political religion. If you are a deconstructing Mormon and you don't know that there's a cult side to leftist politics that you've probably moved into as your political values change with your deconstruction, if you're not even aware of the cult of the left and how it can act as a religion and how it's problematic, then I think that you've done some replacing, and you might need to look into that, because it's something that I especially see in the ex-Mormon world. And we've seen Facebook groups in the ex-Mormon world that essentially become a place that is so, like, you have to be perfect in your language on the left, and then it kind of self-destructs.
Yeah, and there are just really savage community enforcement of
Why does Marty
norms.
look like she's been rubbed down with
To me, I'd
gasoline?
much rather hang
It's extremely shiny.
She's very shiny. They must be okay. They must be swingers now, because all swingers look like that. All of them.
She's still got like the Mormon glow, is what it is. You know?
Oh, she still has the spirit. That's what we're seeing.
She's still, we hardly recognize the spirit anymore. It just looks like shininess.
Forrest has been smitten by Brit. She made some she's pretty good about making fairly, like, reasonable claims. She'll draw on, like, patriarchy and shit like that every now and then, but I don't know. Most of what she said is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, right there. There's nothing to Like, yeah, she's
just
spot
really
on.
savage community enforcement of norms that, to me, I'd much rather hang around Orthodox Mormons than some really passionate ex-Mormons who are kind of ultra left. So we'll leave that there.
I thought that was pretty wild for John to say
I
that.
know. Like, and they both say, like, we got to stop talking now. We can't be doing that.
So I just went to Brittany Hartley's website, and boy, that's disappointing. Because, I mean, one of her jobs. Okay, I'm just going to read the list of jobs because it's too funny, and it's just. First off, the picture of her playing drums. Her grip does not look good, but I'm not a drummer, so I don't know. But she says, about me, podcaster, dissertation avoider, ordained Sufi. Is that real? That can't be real. Seminary teacher, meditation teacher, Enneagram coach, Boise Post-Mormon group director. Here's the one that really cracked me up. Certified spiritual director. A certified spiritual director. Like, does your certification glow with the Holy Spirit? Is that how I know it's real? Whole history, social studies teacher, nihilism survivor, published author. But yeah, okay. Certified spiritual director. Okay, you sell magic. You are a.
Well, I mean, she has a way of qualifying like the mysticism stuff that she says that she doesn't let it go into like actual belief of that stuff. So.
I guess just certified spiritual directors. Like, I don't know. It's just so funny. It's like it'd be less insulting if she just said, "Oh, I'm a guru." Like certified spiritual director.
It has that language, but I think she has done like. I was actually kind of listening to a whole lot of it and being like, okay, she could almost be like Mormon Jordan Peterson. You know,
really, I wonder. Yeah, just like I don't know. It's like it seems like such a sleazy way to say that. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, like I mean, in this podcast, like she's saying stuff that I agree with for sure.
She definitely
she's a really good drummer.
She definitely reels off like the mysticism stuff. I mean, I've got it was a little 3-minute clip that she made because she went on with Nuance Ho right after this, and she's got a 3-minute clip of where she both calls out like the religious stuff, but then also says like there could be like a dark side to anything like mysticism or atheism or something like that, and that's part of like what she's talking about in her book or whatever. But she does go against witches. I guess I could probably pull it up right here. She says, watch out with your tarot card stuff and your witch card stuff and all that sort of stuff. So
can Brits say leftist is the problem when we literally have a cult leader on the right, one who people will give their lives for? I'm confused. And then Maven,
who would give their life? Do you think anybody would really give their lives for Trump?
Maybe. I don't know.
Like if there was a thing around this country right now, like Trump will get no jail time if somebody will just come sacrifice themselves on the altar.
Just the whole idea that Trump supporters support Trump because of some cult of personality thing and not because of policy is absolutely retarded. It's how you know that they don't even bother listening. Like, no, you talk to Trump supporters. They don't talk about him like the way, you guys talk about Robin DiAngelo or Barack Obama. Like, no, you've even got it backwards. Yeah, just this idea. Like, no, you can talk to Trump supporters. They don't think Trump is a good person. They like his politics. That's all.
Yeah, they overlook it, but there's not one of those rando Christos who likes. There's some of them who deny that it happened because there is a letter that Stormy Daniels wrote, and who knows like why she wrote the letter, because I could totally see her being like offered money to write the letter or something, but she wrote a letter that it never happened. So there's some people who could like live in denial that sort of thing ever happened. But if it did happen, there's not one of those Christo people who's down with him banging Stormy Daniels. None of them like that.
Yes, eventually you just have to become disillusioned to the idea that any of your political heroes are good people.
Ironically, it's weird. It's like ironic that it's the fundamentalist Christian right, the very religious, God-believing Christian right, who are able to turn their religion off when it comes to politics and say, no, this is politics. Trump represents my politics, not my religion. Whereas the left cannot divide those things.
Well, I mean, it's like Jonathan made his post just kind of pushing at this and talking about it and saying, like, are we allowed to talk about this stuff on Mormon Stories? And then, of course, all the different people in the comments gave their little talking points and that sort of stuff. And I got into it with one of the guys, like, a little bit. I didn't go forever with him because I can't just sit here forever. I could pull a quote from the Black Menaces dude of saying, I can't Google stuff for you. But you guys saw that I asked him very directly, like, do you honestly think that I can't show you ways that the left has been book banny the same way the right has been book banny? Do you honestly, before I Google this for you, do you honestly believe that that's not there? I want to know. Do you honestly believe it? And the guy just says, just show it to me, blah. And I could totally believe that he's kind of maybe the inverse version of the boomer Trumper, who's just like the boomer dem guy who's just like, I'm more than positive we've just been perfect in every way, shape, or form. And, you know,
for me, the test is like what I ask people is just like, you know, it's a 2-part question. It's a 4-part question in 2 parts. But is there anything, like, are conservatives wrong about everything? If not, are they right about anything? And are liberals right about everything? If not, are they wrong about anything? And just asking those questions, you can find out very quickly if you're talking with a serious person, or just, you know, if you can have a discussion or not. You know,
but like, if it's gone to like that religious level, has it gone to a religious level, or are we actually trying to talk about stuff here? Because it might even be like a younger generation is somewhat better than this, although they pick up their things too. But they're almost all like, just like that girl was able to shit on her Taylor Swift that she obviously loves. You can kind of appreciate that about her, because there is something about like a different generation that won't be able to shit at all on the thing that they love. But so many people in politics, maybe the younger crowd, I know us for sure, it's perfectly easy to say what's shitty or what you don't like about the person you like that's in power. But Jonathan had somebody who made a comment on that thing, and Jonathan noticed that the reason he was upset about Biden is that Biden didn't follow through, wasn't left enough on all of his politics, which is obviously true of a bunch of the critics of him. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Responded, Stacey Adams, that's not what she said, though. But Britt, how would you respond to Stacey Adams' question?
Yeah, so, you know, we can talk about Trump and hierarchies and authority on the right. Certainly when we look at political values, authority, loyalty, purity, we see these core values on the right. And there's all kinds of problems with those core values and a shadow side to all of those core values. But something that's sometimes harder to see is the problems of the opposite side. There are times that the left will control narratives, or you can be kicked out of
The thing is with this, like, I was going to be real gentle with them on how hard they have to tiptoe too, because as you guys saw, I wrote in the chat to each other, it's like, I was generally impressed they're able to do this, because obviously these people rely on money from people who are going to freak out at them saying this. And that one simple thing, you just have to appreciate that they're breaching it all. And I can forgive just like how much they have to do it with walking on eggshells, like while they're saying it here. I mean, I get that, but
Mormonism or kicked out of the left because you are not speaking according to the narrative. I think Met Harrison was the one who wrote how she got kicked out of ex-Mormonism, which is this idea that there's this narrative we have as ex-Mormons, and if you go off the narrative, you'll get kicked out of Reddit groups, you'll get kicked out of Facebook groups, and you know, sometimes that can happen on the other side. And so even though the left isn't as hierarchical, if you don't see the political values of the left, and there's good things, political values on the left include compassion and justice, and we need both of those core values. But if you don't see the shadow
conservative
side
values don't
to those values, then you're missing a part of the story. There are times when we
Oh yeah, because conservatives, like if you ask a conservative, do you value justice and compassion?
Disgusting.
They say no.
What are you gay?
Come with me. Like I'm placing you under citizen's arrest to take you for an abortion. We're gonna find out if you're pregnant. You're under arrest.
Need the political values of the right, and we, you know, your personality and your values, you're going to line up somewhere on that spectrum, and that's fine. But if you can't even see the shadow side of your own side, then I would say that there's a reason to look into it. And this is why I force myself. I will follow specific voices outside of my echo chamber to make sure I'm not getting sucked in to a reality of one narrative and one message that has its own shadow side that it's unaware of. And so you almost have to, in the political sphere, force yourself to follow people that are outside of your political leanings in order to get different aspects of reality, for someone to call out some of the shadow side of the left. Now, I am saying that people will always say, oh, you're just a white Republican, whatever.
What's that?
I am saying that as someone who has always leaned left politically.
I said I need to start doing this. She's right, because as several dozen people on Facebook have informed me, all of my opinions come from Fox News.
Yeah, me too. Also a Russian bot. I'm a Russian bot from Fox News.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I've been called both of those.
Power.
I've been called both of those before. Not recently though.
Since I was 15 years old, I've leaned left politically. But if you can't even verbalize
You're Mormon, how could that be true?
or notice the shadow side of the left, I would say that you're a little bit too sucked into the core values of that side and the good things without seeing its shadow. Everything has a shadow.
Yeah, and I may be mistaken here, and if I am, I would welcome people to correct me. I think no one's going to confuse me for like a Trump fan, but I'll just pick one thing. Like, if you want to say Trump's all evil, I will just say this. Think about past presidential administrations and how much they got into war, how much they used the military, how many deaths came about because of executive orders to use drones or to engage in war. I personally think that war is one of the most evil things ever in the history of humankind. And I think an objective analysis.
I personally think war is bad. Personally, I personally think it's bad when little children are run over by drunk drivers. Personally.
If I had a time machine, I would go back and end slavery. I just hate slavery so much.
That's your bad teachers thing with the Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Analysis of Trump's 4 years might show that in terms of war and death and violence, Trump might have pretty decent scores around that one thing. Now, I could be wrong there.
John, let me help you,
Please let me
John.
know if
Let me help you, John. Donald Trump is the only president in your lifetime who did not begin or expand a foreign war. To answer your question.
I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to say, like you said, Britt, we need to be able to look at our own sides.
Yeah.
And not just
like
think
if you think that the other half of America are all stupid, like
Yeah.
you'll get that from both sides, both the left and the right. If you think that 50% of America or whatever that percentage is, are all stupid and evil, then you've probably missed something, because they're humans just like you. So what are their values, and what are the core values that they're bringing to the conversation, and what are the shadow side of that core values? And the left will have that too.
Yeah. So
only took 8 years to get here, folks. 8 years, bro. Little couple sentences there. Let me see if I can find what she said about witches. All right, here it is.
And so what we're seeing is there is a direct line between Christianity to witch. There's a Christianity to witch pipeline, and it is just a straight line. The problem is, if we are doing that without fully deconstructing, we essentially start replacing behaviors rather than actually facing the fears and doing the work that we were talking about before. So if you were really into prosperity gospel, into Christianity, then manifestation is just a new way for your brain to do prosperity gospel, but now under a different umbrella. that, you know, that isn't related to your Christian faith that you've deconstructed. But it's not just that. It's like there's so many behaviors that religion is doing to calm down anxiety, to help you feel in control. And a lot of this occult world is really saying, well, yeah, if you believe in that the planets are doing this or that, then you can have control, and we can do your readings, and we can do your tarot, we can do all these things, and then you'll be in control. And you essentially are doing the same thing that in the woo space that you were doing in religion. You just found a new way to not have to face your fears, to not have to sit with things are chaos and I don't have control.
Yeah.
And so I want to.
Did you guys see the Freedom Tunes about how to get women to care about the border?
No.
You didn't see that one? I'll play it real quick.
Although I figured out how to get women to care about Ozempic.
How's that?
I think I might have mentioned this on here before, but when my entire, like, when all the women that I work with started taking Ozempic, I was like, that's probably terrible for you. And I like looked into it, and I was like, telling them, yeah, looks like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea are the better side effects, but it can also completely paralyze your gut. And they're like, oh, that's crazy. Anyway, I've lost weight, so I look nice. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then a few weeks later, one of the ladies was telling me, yeah, I stopped taking Ozempic. And I was like, oh, that's probably good. Why'd you stop? And she's like, well, my friend pointed out to me that one of the side effects is potential hair loss. And I was like, you vapid idiot. Are you serious right now? That was it. Like, I told you that your digestive tract might stop working. And then your friend was like, you might be a little bit less pretty. And you're like, oh my goodness, icky.
Here's how to get women to care about the border.
Oh my gosh, this is insanity. The majority of border crossings aren't even Mexican anymore. We have no idea who's entering.
Oh, that's interesting, honey.
200,000 crossings in 1 month? 1 month! How many human traffickers? How many gangs? How much fentanyl?
Wow. Yeah.
Do you hear what I'm saying? How can you not care about this?
Honey, it's gonna be fine. The culture a person's from doesn't make them any different from you or I.
Doesn't make... Oh, so you don't care that 50% of the people pouring over the border are Virgos?
What?
Yeah, and that's just a rough estimate. They aren't even vetting people for their star sign.
Are you serious? 100,000 Virgos entering each month? What's next? Pisces or Capricorn just being able to pour in?
They already are.
Someone has to do something. You're not going to believe what Mark just told me, Jojo. Half of the illegal crossings were Pisces this month.
How long ago was this one?
Just a couple days. I'll speed it up.
So anyone can just enter, even if they aren't compatible with your children's star sign. It's outrageous. We need an even balance. And no Aries. We hope to find a political solution, but we cannot be blamed for what actions we take when Mercury is in retrograde. Scorpio, no issue there. Thank you. And your child's birthday? December 6th? Sagittarius? We don't need any more of those. Please, no!
And the Taurus.
Welcome to America.
Well, it's not ideal, but at least it's an immigration system.
Sir, records indicate you're guilty of being a secret Capricorn.
Huh? No, I'm a Gemini.
The party hereby accuses you of altering your records.
That's ridiculous.
Doesn't sound like Gemini talk to me. What do you think? I think we should see what the tribunal has to say.
No!
Yeah, I mean, that is one of those things. Even though I know it's part of my life, every time it comes up, like in regular life, when I hear a woman unironically reference astrology, I'm like, wow, we're still there as a civilization. We are still there. Like, and I was just saying, how many of these women have college degrees? Like, you can go all the way through college and still be an astrologist.
Do you know I made the front page of Reddit one time making a pho cartoon about women in astrology? Like
I remember that.
The front page of Reddit. Yeah, it was I just made a thing of posting like this girl ranting about her astrology and me being like the well actually guy and that sort of thing, and then my friend next to me going like, oh yeah, my sign is totally this, and then the girl running off and like hooking up with him, and then just like that pho face of me going like, whoa, I want to hook up with her. So I can't remember exactly, but it was just that comic made it to the front page of Reddit. So let's see. Do we need to see more of this one? I mean, she's just being pretty reasonable. She
No,
went
I
on
think
the
that's
nuance
pretty much all that I remember.
It's just amazing to hear John Dehlin say things. Like, I kind of wonder if like Black Menace was his overcorrecting for what he did on the Britt Hartley show.
Yeah.
The big three and best practices, best tools, best things without the dogma, believing the unbelievable.
Each of these three voices actually has real tools that are helpful for people, helpful enough that there are polls that say that, if you are in religion, and for example, during COVID, if you had a faith, that you tended to fare a little bit better. Some people will say, well, that means that religion is true. No, it doesn't mean that, because religion is just carrying things that are good for you. It's carrying a lot of tools that are good for you. And so the same thing with the New Age spirituality or the New Age kind of occult world, they are the best at supporting conversations between your conscious and subconscious mind, using symbols, using intuition,
Right.
body, female, nature, intuitive, introspective, even something like tarot cards. You don't have to believe that the universe spun in such a way that you would only get that card that day to get the benefit, using symbols to tap into your subconscious mind to check in on yourself. So there are tools in that world too. And then in the atheism world, there's a shadow side, just like the other two worlds. There's a shadow side. Just being an atheist because you get to be a missionary for atheism and you get to be better than everyone and you get to be self-righteous in the same way that you were when you were religious. You're smarter than everybody. But there's also tools. There's tools in learning about your brain and neuroscience and science and the scientific approach and the science of well-being. Atheism has the best tool in just taking shit off the table that doesn't deserve to be there. The approach that I take is there's these three loud camps. There's tools that each camp has to offer and also a shadow side to each approach. There's damage in religion. There are people that get so into their intuitive space with crystals and woo. There is no check on intuition. And so their ego can just go awry. I think we all know someone who's kind of gone down that rabbit hole and gotten a little bit lost because there is a shadow side to not having community and not having checks and not having teachers and not having mentors and not having wisdom traditions, because you can really believe whatever you want and then you start spiritually bypassing and not knowing that you're doing it. And then in the atheist world, they don't have a lot of tools. If you ask atheism, what do I do to raise my kids? And atheism itself just says not God. That's all it has to offer the conversation. So each side has a shadow side and each voice has tools. And so my approach with secular spirituality, with no nonsense spirituality, is what are these tools? How can we get it in a way that resonates with you? So I'm not going to tell you like, this is the ritual that you're going to do. I'm going to say, here's the science that shows that rituals are good for you. Here's some options. Which one resonates with you?
Super duper interesting. It's boring to agree, man.
Yeah.
Let us shit on your stuff.
I have to finally hear somebody say like atheism has no answers. Like, yeah, that's right. Like, I wish that like
that's the conclusion we came to. That's the hard.
She needs to let atheists
like I wish
know
Cardin,
that
like,
that's the case.
But like Cardin, like no eight, like she needs to like I want Cardin and the red, like whatever that what's that Facebook group that I
Normalize atheism.
Yeah, normalize atheism. Like like I want this message in Cardin and Jacob Hansen's world and in Normalize Atheism. They are the people who need to learn this message. Like my message to atheism is the same as my message to Mormons. It's not special. You're not special. It's not special. Get over yourself.
No, I got told I wasn't a real atheist by them one time because I said
They were
Oh.
talking about, it was one of the stupid posts where they're talking about how like Jesus would basically be full on socialist leftist politician if he were alive today. And I was like, I don't know. I think it was talking about trans stuff. Like, oh, Jesus would tell you to quit bugging the trans people about it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Jesus lived in a time when the concept, like when you could look at a male and know that it's a male, right? And then they're like, you're not a real atheist if you believe Jesus existed. And I was like, wait, what?
What? Really?
Yeah, no, I was
interesting.
told I'm not a real atheist. I was like, I don't
You
know.
believe,
I've
like-
honestly done zero study on whether or not Jesus was a historical person, but
Yeah.
so I don't,
Not
I
like,
don't really
you know, I'm
care one way or another. But
I'm pretty sympathetic to the Christ myth theory. Like, you know, like, I mean, really just like, you know, like Robert Price, the way he lays it out, which is basically like it's not that he has evidence that Jesus didn't exist. It's just that the evidence that Jesus existed is almost non-existent. Like what we have obviously came through Christian sources or other biased sources, and like just the actual like nuts and bolts boring reality of history, we don't have one for Jesus. Like for me, the question is totally academic. Like it changes nothing about my worldview if Jesus was a historical figure or not. But my favorite thing that Robert M. Price said, he said like there may have been a historical Jesus, but there isn't anymore. Like just like the way he put that, like that's how he like summarizes the state of the evidence, you know, which is like that's why I'm sympathetic to the Christ myth theory. Is like I think that puts it in a nice nutshell. Like we don't have one anymore. There may have been a historical Jesus, but we don't have one anymore. You know, we have Josephus and we have the Gospels, and they're shit. So,
I'm just gonna go off on a little bit of a thing real quick. Just this week, James Lindsay did a longer podcast on the occult theosophy of the United Nations. And if you want to read some people who are top founders and still at the United Nations and some of the wackadoodle ideas that they mix into a bunch of the different things in the charters that are written into the United Nations. It's a really interesting thing to listen to, and it's been one of those things I've been pointing at for a while, that this stuff is woven into these weird multinational, I don't even know what you call it. I mean, that's not an NGO. I mean, what is even the United Nations? I guess it's just the United Nations. There's nothing else really like that, right? Maybe the WHO or something like that. But one of the things that I wanted to point out with it is this is called theosophy, right? The theosophy of them. It's the same theosophy that the dude who did the we talked about the Alice in Wonderland guy and all those different types of people coming out of like those Fabian schools, what Orwell wrote about and was warning about. But once again, just as a reminder, one of the things that set me off forever ago was this post by Kwaku about why Kwaku believes the Book of Mormon is theosophy and you should too. And then he has this other thing below it, and you see his own personal channel, something esoteric, and he calls a Mormon case for Christ consciousness. And one of the things that James Lindsay goes into in this podcast is how theosophy talks about bringing in together Christ consciousness, and it's all part of their great big grand scheming ideas to create or move into a new evolution of men, which is basically just big stupid degrowth models all based off of weird wackadoo religions. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I think that Jen person, I mean, Dehlin and her will talk about stuff like, no, Christian nationalism, it's such a big dangerous threat. But in my view, like those weird esoteric goofball mystical theosophical things that they just think is like, oh, it's tarot cards and this and that and the other. No, it's wackadoodah stuff that people in high elite places believe, and they actually weave it into their ideas that bring about anti-natalist policies in the whole entire world. And I think, in my view, if I'm going to weigh that against whatever harms are caused by Christianity or anything like that, I think that stuff is set to create far more kind of World War II-esque type great big machines of blenders of what do they call them? Like those meat blenders of machine guns nests and great big ovens of people and all that sorts of stuff. If anything is going to possibly lead to that in our near future, it's going to be these weird mystical theosophical religions held by dipshits in high places, way over some sort of Christian nationalism. Although Christian nationalism could break into war, that could happen too. Or the Jew stuff and the Iran stuff and all that. I mean, they could all break into wars, but I think that as a dangerous religion is not just like tarot cards and people doing weird witchy occulty stuff. It moves into an entire anti-natalist movement that has all the way up to extreme depopulation beliefs by terrible people with too much control on the levers of the world. So I suggest listening to that, but also listen to that and then go listen to what Kwaku says about theosophy and then what Kwaku says about Christ consciousness, because he also talks about Christ consciousness in this and how that's one of the things that they weave into the whole entire thing. I'll see if I find the clip on Christ consciousness. Because it's all consciousness. But that's what I'm saying is like Kwaku for a while has been pulling from this esoteric stuff. It's what I've been pointing at forever. It gets boring even kind of like looking or pulling at or that sort of stuff. But what I've been talking about for a bit is this. Here it is.
Cosmic consciousness. So this is the rise. You've heard this phrase recently, probably if you're too tapped in on social media. This is the rise, and this is part of the new thought movement that this is all into. This is the rise of the idea of the Christ consciousness. And of course, the Christ consciousness is the awakened cosmic consciousness this guy's talking about. And this Christ consciousness was supposed to be embodied by Jesus and many of the other great sages and Buddhas of history, and also the gurus or the shamans or whatever else. But Christ consciousness is a counterfeit. It is not at all biblical. It is a heretical theosophical idea, and it is actually on the rise again. You need to be sensitive to seeing that, because the battle at a spiritual level, the spiritual battle we're engaged in, is theology versus theosophy. Jesus didn't stutter. He didn't say there's a bunch of us that are like me. He didn't say that. He said he is the way, the truth, and the life. He said the way is straight and narrow. Many, the path of many is the path of.
Anyway, it was too long to get to and explain to right here. But what I'm just pointing at, if anybody wants to go look into it, listen to that entire podcast on how weird those theosophical ideas get into those people. But then at the same time, as I've always been saying here, look at this screen right here. Here's Kwaku talking about Mormonism's theosophy and a case for Christ consciousness, something esoteric. That's what I've been getting at for a long time. People's like, he's weaving in wackadoodle stuff, and he's the guy who's supposedly in on the Mormonism. And now we're going to go into the Black Menaces, who he's also homies with, as he goes spouting off his leftism all over Twitter and stuff like that too. What I'm just saying is like, there's a great big amount of stuff up there with Kwaku to like give him like a stink eye of like, Kwaku, what the hell stuff are you messing around with or in over here? Or what games are you playing? Right.
Righto.
Right. Ew. Black Menaces. Should we just listen the whole 5 hours?
Yeah, let's strap in, get a drink. Let's.
I don't know.
I don't even know where to go, man. It's just the first like 20 minutes or so is pretty boring, but fucking hell, man, everything after that is just constant cringe. There's him talking about how like one of the early ones, he's talking about how in debate class somebody asked him in high school how he could be part of a racist organization, and instead of explaining that it's not racist, he chided them for talking about racism as white people, and then said also you're conservative. Like that's he's talking about how much he loves debate, and I was like, oh, that's what debate class taught you, is to just be like, well, you're white and conservative, so I win. So that was pretty fun. There's I don't know, there's of course we got to get to the dumbest thing Dehlin's ever said, but I'm not going to spoil that. We could start wherever, man. There's so fucking much cringe in this.
Yeah. The first stuff I wrote down was them just talking about being a missionary, is like doing colonialism around the world.
Oh yeah.
We might just set Flip off, get him back in if we talk about Breonna Taylor stuff or something like that. But yeah, look, I got it tuned into that moment already. This is a
You
we'll
muted
start
Flip.
off with the. We're gonna
Sorry,
start
like
off.
I got in a whole side thing about Christ myth theory, but anyway.
You were talking to us about it, and we just didn't hear you.
In the content, in the comments, I'm talking
gotcha.
to Rico.
We're gonna start off with the worst of it, because like we just had a thing, and honestly, if this hadn't dropped today, we were going to leave it at praise for Dehlin and Britt for good enough. Wow, way to go! Yeah,
Keep in mind, like I've scoured through like dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of hours of Dehlin shit to find the cringiest cucked shit he's ever said, and before this, the most cucked thing he ever said was like just outright, "I hate the fact that I'm a straight white male." But this is probably more cucked and stupid.
He went from most based Dehlin's ever been to
just
Cuckoo.
But that's the thing I kind of wonder. Like, I mean, it also really gives you the idea that Dehlin, like, here's the thing, like Dehlin, you are like Donald Trump in that you are only trying to win the room you're in. So like when your guest is that guest, and you're like, oh yeah, sure. And now switcheroo and like, oh yeah. Like, yeah, dude, I don't know, just that. You're just like Donald Trump. You don't actually have principles. You just are wanting to win the room you're in.
Yeah. That reminded me of like the Arrested Development chicken dance or something like that. When you just cucking it. It might work for us.
That's over now. I have nothing to prove. That is not how chicken sounds. Chickens don't clap.
That's just replace it. Chickens don't clap. This is him going right back to
and something is happening just when little things are happening every single day. It is a wear and tear that like eventually tears you completely down.
You are either delusional or lying.
I was just having the realization, I don't know if this makes sense, that like having such a white population is its own microaggression or maybe a macroaggression.
Literally.
Like I would just say, how does a place become so white? Like what had to have led to any population being this white?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just making
I mean,
up.
like if you think about like
What?
it was deliberate.
Right.
It was deliberate.
Just accidentally.
I just want to like
this dude calls me a conspiracy theorist. I promise you. I said anything to him, he called me a conspiracy theorist QAnon. You just said it's this deliberate whitening it like they meant to have Utah be only white. It was only white people that went over there. What are you talking about? Imagine the balls it would take to go to like an African country and go to their city and be like, this is 98% black.
Yeah. Like I want to go to Japan and walk around and be like, what the fuck?
Where are the Koreans?
Whose idea was that Japan be full of Japanese people? What nefarious plan got started rolling at what millennia long ago that we've arrived in this place?
We're in hell.
Oh my god! It's just it's so many things about it are stupid.
No,
like how about the whole thing about
brags.
like I mean, just this thing like this, like because you guys mentioned that this kid mentions that like he grew up on welfare. He's not.
Yeah,
is he
they
a
both
convert?
start out saying that all the way through that the church basically.
No, he's
paid
not
for-
a convert. His
No.
so
Born in
his
Covenant?
his
Three
grandma
generations.
his grandma on both sides got baptized. So yeah, he's 3 generations on both sides. But his parents got divorced really quickly, and then he talked. Both of these dudes on here talk about how it was nice that the church paid their rent and bought them food for quite a while when they were growing up.
Yeah.
But it was funny because he brags a lot about how the town that he was in was like the second most diverse town in America, apparently. And then he talks about going to Utah, to Provo, and he claims that Provo is the least diverse town in the whole country. And I don't think that's true, but at any rate, he says that like it's some type of a moral failing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
it's like what you were just saying. If you go to Japan and you act like they are moral failures for only
Yeah.
having Japanese people, like, no, that's just where they live. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you want from us? And he talks
No, I
about
mean,
how he
it's
says
like
that
the
he
thing
was
where
a
you
lot
can-
of
You
he
can
says that he was
ask.
a lot of people's first black person. He's like, if I'm the first black person you met as an adult, then something's wrong. Like, no, they just don't live around a lot of them.
How old is
Wait.
he? How old is this guy?
He's pretty young. He just
He just graduated college. He's like 25. So like what? Born around 1999, 2000. You
Something
think
like
you're the first black person we met? You fucking dipshit.
No, he's claiming that people have told him that he's the first black person
No,
they met.
I don't
in
believe
Provo
it.
or something. But I'm like, even if it was,
I wouldn't be surprised if people like said, "Oh, we don't like," just said something along the lines of like, "Oh, there's not a lot of black people here." Like, no.
Sure, but I'm like, even if they said that, like, how
Okay, first off-
what's the moral quandary there? Like, what's like? Wait a
Yeah.
minute, you've never met, and he talks about how he goes there and like nobody was wearing ripped up jeans, and I was the only person wearing ripped up jeans, and they didn't know much about black culture, and I was like, do you know what I didn't do when I went to Brazil? And people asked me where I was from, and I said Idaho, and they're like, "Is that near New York?" I didn't chastise them for not having pre-studied my culture before I happened to walk up to them in the street. You know, like, oh, I'm the only person wearing ripped jeans. I don't care, man. Like, be different and be weird. That's fine. I'm watching anime with a bunch of rednecks at work. They make fun of me for it. It's fine. Just be weird.
Because I have experience, like, the things that they call microaggressions. Like, because I used to, like, I first heard it, I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? And then I'm like, oh, like my entire life when people mispronounce my name and then ask me all kinds of stupid questions about my origins because my name is not typical to a white person that doesn't have an accent. And like, and when I was young, when I was like 12 and under, I would get annoyed. And then I grew up. And I understood, like, I know I've mentioned it before, but I thought it was really fascinating. It's like in America, 10 trillion times in my life. I mean, like, just for example, like my dad's funeral was just last week. And my uncle, who's known me my entire life, he mispronounced my name. Like, about half of my family still mispronounces my name. It used to bother me. It doesn't anymore. But I thought it was so fascinating because, like, because in America it happens all the time where I go, oh, what's your name? Felipe. Felipe? No, Felipe. All right. Nice to meet you, Felipe. And that's how it goes for the rest of my life. But in the UK, it was weird. In the UK, like every single time I had that conversation, because everyone's like, oh, Flip, that's a weird name. Is it short for something? Well, yeah, it's Felipe. Felipe? Yes, Felipe. Magic. But the reason is that in England, they don't have 40 million fucking Spanish speakers, and the Spanish culture has not become such a part of American culture, right? There's so much Latin American culture and language baked into America now that I do not blame American English speakers for defaulting to natural Spanish pronunciation. They should be commended for that. You guys learned. You picked that up. That's great for Mexicans that Americans have learned roughly how to pronounce Spanish. Just sucks to be Brazilian. But that's nobody's fault.
This just falls under the file of why would you fucking care about this, right? Like a lot of these microaggressions do, because Dehlin, to his credit, kind of backs them up and says like, okay, but like a little bit of pushback here, like. Would you say you actually experienced racism in 2020 Provo? What would be some examples? And he immediately has to jump into microaggressions because he hasn't experienced racism in Provo. He immediately has to say things like, well, people, when I told them about my scholarship, they would ask me if it was basketball. I was like, oh, really? Is it because you're tall? And here's the thing, he played basketball. Like he talks about how he played basketball in high school and how he wanted to get a basketball scholarship. People assume I play basketball. It's a safe assumption. You're tall.
Yeah. No, like
and all Mormons play basketball anyway.
How many people in my life are like, you play football, right?
Yeah.
That's
called a
The
microaggression.
thing is, too, is like the guy says he was like a huge basketball player and wanted to get like a scholarship in basketball and could have gotten one if he hadn't acquitted or something.
Yeah,
But
he said that he quit because God told him to. I was like, I don't know
Oh,
about
it
that.
wasn't
That
the
seems
Ravens?
weird.
God told me to too when I got cut from the team.
Did you quit because God told you to, or did you quit because you're only 5'9"? God, I'm sorry. Did you quit because God made you 5'9"?
Yeah, God told me the day I just didn't quite make the team my sophomore year. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll go into this stuff because I know it'll set Flip off.
Hooray! I need that.
Huzzah.
Okay,
Yeah.
talk us through that.
Yeah, so obviously remember like the build up to the summer with like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and then George Floyd happened, and then the world went on fire.
He's
And-
speaking of the summer of 2020, which it's kind of convenient, like that we're having what James Lindsay calls, like the Gaza Floyd summer, but nice little summers to have like great big like flare ups of everything, right before elections. It's kind of magical how that happened.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know the history, these are tell us who these people are.
Yeah, so these are all people that were murdered by like cops or white individuals.
That's a lie.
And,
You just lied. You
and
just
different
lied
like
to a whole bunch of
things like Breonna Taylor was murdered on a
No, she
because
wasn't.
police busted in her house and she was in her bed.
That's Louisville,
No,
right?
she wasn't.
Kentucky.
Not a no-knock
Ooh,
grade.
I don't know
I
the
think
location.
so.
Yeah,
They
so
didn't bust
sounds
into
about
her
right.
house. They knocked in
George
and out.
Floyd was suffocated to death for 9 minutes.
No, he wasn't.
You know?
No, he wasn't. Did you not watch the trial? Did you not watch the trial? This guy did not watch the trial.
Well, hold on, listen to this one.
So
with that knee on his neck.
with his knee on his neck.
No,
And,
no, that didn't happen.
Right.
There's this one. You just missed the.
Oh, the jogger? No, he was not
Yeah, no,
just
they did the
jogging.
jogger thing was the dumbest.
That description, like I could totally see a situation where you could say the Ahmaud Arbery thing should not have escalated that far. 100%.
Yeah, sure. It's a
But
yeah.
he
there's a case
wasn't
of
jogging and got this murdered in the street. Like, come
I
on.
always wear
yeah.
I always wear jeans and hiking boots 45 minutes away from the place that I live to go
after and I stop in and like
carrying a
random.
hammer.
I stop in like random houses and like look
I
through. Like, stuff.
I trespass on construction sites. That's what joggers do.
Every other day, like I check and like poke through all the stuff at the construction site because it's just part of the workout.
You know, like those guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot to say about how they should have just fucking backed off. But the sentences they got were so ridiculous. Like, especially in the video, because like Ahmaud Arbery tries to take his gun away from him. Like, you can't do that, because because that's the other thing. Like, because Ahmaud Arbery, like, here's the other thing: he's running down a road on a country lane. All he had to do was run in past the trees, and then they couldn't follow him anymore. And he could find somebody and call police and say, "White people are following me," but he wouldn't call police because they'd say, "Well, why are they following you?" that might lead to an explanation, but. Yeah, I don't know. That one's a tough one. But yeah, like, but this whole idea, he was jogging and got murdered. No. Everything you've said so far is not just a lie. It is a proven false lie.
Yeah, I was gonna post on this like that. You guys have like a mythology that's more full of shit than like any sort of like religious mythology that's out there.
Surprised he hasn't brought up Michael Brown yet. Did he bring up Michael Brown?
I don't know if he does.
I didn't bring it up. He did bring up. He brings up Zimmerman.
He brings up Trayvon.
Oh, Trayvon Martin. Yeah, Trayvon Martin
and Zimmerman.
Trayvon Martin.
It's all just said they just get murdered. And I had a friend who just got murdered by cops, and everything's just like
Trayvon Martin assaulted Andrew Zimmerman. Is that an Andrew Zimmerman? No, that's the guy.
Zimmerman.
George Billy Steven Zimmerman. The Trayvon Martin assaulted that guy with deadly force. We know this. Again,
Yeah, George Zimmerman's a cunt, but
I guess so. Like, this thing's like all that shit happened after.
So Risto brings up a good point here. How come nobody talks about Eric Garner anymore?
It wasn't as bad as people made it out to be, but like the big thing with Eric Garner was like, why are you bothering a guy for selling Lucy's? Well, because it's against the law.
That's why
Eric
it's
Garner,
not.
like, why do you like the whole thing is like, don't resist arrest, don't resist arrest, don't resist arrest, don't resist arrest, don't resist arrest. If you resist,
Yeah, but I'm
arrest,
saying,
then
like,
you
as
are
far
asking
as
for violence.
as far as like these things go, that one looks way worse than the rest of these. Because like the only way they made,
But that's the point. That's the point. Fringe ones are
fringe ones
better.
are the easy ones, yeah.
Fringe ones are better to cause action and reaction because this guy will get pushback from us. If we look at the Eric Garner one and say, "Yeah, I get that," yeah, I get that, doesn't spurn more activism.
Yeah, but I mean, I said, yeah, I get that with the Breonna Taylor one because they lied about it. And then once it came out that it wasn't
a long time later that like it was.
Yeah,
Although,
no,
like,
I was,
really
and
think about
that
the
was the most
details of
annoying one
that.
because I used that one as an example that no, I'm not just biased in favor of the police. Okay, Breonna Taylor was bullshit. They no-knock created her. Blah blah blah. No, that was all a lie. You guys had to you lied about fucking everything.
Oh. I think it's like, well, just the other thing, like they always do. It's like, oh, well, Breonna Taylor, she was a medical student. Like, no, she wasn't. She was dating a gangbanger, and a corpse was found in a car with her in her name. Like her name was on that.
She was
warrant.
dating a gangbanger after having dated another gangbanger, and the old gangbanger came and shot her.
Breonna Taylor
she was storing drugs for that other gangbanger.
Breonna Taylor was 100% a drug trafficker. Like, come on. Like, so just this idea where it's like, it's like the South Park, I love that.
But you can always take nuanced views because we can do it. Like, there's a thing of like, maybe there was a way to do that entry without it turning into that. Although we all know that her boyfriend started shooting first. You can kind of understand that the guy might not have known that those were cops. Well, they said that they were yelling that they were cops for like 5 minutes beforehand.
The neighbor
shot first.
testified they heard him say cops. Yeah.
But there's a magical world where that one didn't lead to death. It just led to an arrest.
Well, the other thing is that roughly the same thing happened, except, I mean, if anything, this is more egregious. This was I don't know, about 10 years ago-ish in Ogden. There was a vet, an Iraq war vet on disability in Ogden who was growing marijuana plants in his house. And from all the reports, he grew it for himself. He was not distributing. Okay, granted, it's illegal, but the guy was not a drug trafficker. He wasn't engaging, in like the cartel level of shit like Breonna Taylor and company were. And the police raided this guy with an actual no-knock warrant. He apparently thought that it was people coming to steal from him. He shot back. He ended up, I think he killed a cop. And he got wounded. He ended up hanging himself in jail. And I remember when that happened because the conservatives were like, wait, really? Like, because according to the police, again, like the police warrant was, well, we think he's like, because apparently somebody was just like, somebody wanted to get back at him and like gave a tip. Oh, this guy's growing plants. And all the cops had was, well, you think he's growing plants. And they did like a no-knock full-on guns raid when they probably could have knocked on this guy's door and everything would have been fine, But like, again, like, and that happened long before, and it's probably a more egregious example, but that doesn't matter because it happened to a white guy, so nobody gives a fuck. Also, a cop died, and they like that part.
Yeah, it's just that in each one of the cases, I mean, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious, like how you guys state it with zero nuance to it. Just this.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like,
And
we all lived through the George Floyd riot. We all know hands up, don't shoot is still, it's a sign, it's a cry, it's a chant. They're still saying it. They're still saying hands up, don't shoot, even though we know that never happened. It didn't happen. Michael Brown was not surrendering when he was shot. He was assaulting a police officer and trying to take his gun.
And that was only reviewed by 2 different DAs. One DA who ran on the concept of getting to the bottom of that case for the community and also concluded that's what happened.
With his knee on his neck.
No.
And
Ahmaud Arbery.
They're gonna say what Ahmaud Arbery
was shot while he was jogging.
Right, as he was jogging through a neighborhood.
Because he had a hoodie on, right?
By a
I don't think he had a hoodie on.
Just because
he was running.
Yeah,
just because he's running, that's all it was. Just because he's running.
Some white men.
Like, so like at this point, like, this is evil. Like, whether they know it or not, like, maybe, okay, they sincerely believe this. Doesn't make it less evil, Like, it's not less evil that the Nazis in concentration camps sincerely believed that they were doing the right thing. Doesn't make it okay, And like, and this is the sickening thing is that, like, John Dehlin is a fucking 501c3. And so, like, we're just compounding the evil upon evil. We're like, oh, so John Dehlin takes tax-free donations to put on propaganda that is explicitly designed to gin up racial tension. Oh,
Mhm.
good.
Did
Well,
you
what
see
is
all
the
this
service
stuff?
you're providing, John Dehlin?
Because
This
it's
is
one
a
of the
real
things that
important community service.
it's one of the things that Scott Adams has been on a whole lot lately, is that the media should pay some sort of repercussion for the way that they've ginned up an entire side of the society for thinking that they had a Hitler on their hands and that they should do by any means possible do whatever they could to get rid of the racist Hitler or something like that. And one of the main big pushes that they had was that that Hitler said good people on both sides, that whole hoax. Well, there was just a thing just this week where Biden said, and this is where I can show the nuance too, because I can see what Biden was saying, but Biden said there was good people on both sides in the Palestine, Hitler, Hamas, the Hamas stuff. And so everybody came out and said, did he just say there's good people on both sides? So I guess that means he likes Hamas.
If you want to tell me there's good people in Palestine, I wouldn't say no. What kind of monster would say that?
But if you
I mean,
were
you'd have to
these
be
guys
retarded.
and using their activist tactics, you would
that's
just
right.
go straight to, hey, Biden just said Hamas is good.
Men saw him and they jumped in their truck and grabbed their guns.
So citizens arrest him.
Rode him down and shot him.
Are you serious?
No.
And,
Ahmaud Arbery approached the man with a gun, punched him at least twice in the head, and then tried to take his gun away. And then he was shot. Like, at least get that part of the story, because that's not what you said. But again, it doesn't matter. They don't care. Like, they have a story to tell, It doesn't matter that the Protocols of Zion are an obvious forgery. What's important is we believe it, right? It's not true that the Jews are why Germany lost World War I. Like, it's not fact.
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about the Protocols of Zion. I don't know anything about the Protocols of Zion. I just see people that are trying to convince me that the Holocaust didn't happen, constantly telling me that I should read them, and so I haven't.
No.
But
No, it's like it's dumb. It's really dumb shit. Like, came out of like the early 20th century, and it's like an obvious. I mean, okay, just first off, like, nobody is getting together in secret meetings and controlling the world. Like, even the people who are getting close aren't getting close to what the Jewish conspiracy theory presents, Like, just like right there, like, nobody, there's not a tiny handful of people who controls the money. No. Like, come on, get a grip. But oh well.
Eventually.
So this is like a whole other thing. One of the huge reasons why Glenn Lowry and those other different people went and talked in front of the Supreme Court, Kenny Zhu, and all the people talking about admissions into colleges, is part of the problems with affirmative action into admissions in colleges is that there's a huge dropout rate with the people who get entered into college into things that are above their head. And
is it that they're above their head, or is it racism?
My goodness.
That's the thing that Thomas Sowell's been talking about for 50 years. Are you talking about the thing that Thomas Sowell has mentioned for 50 years?
Yeah. Flip requested Jonathan made a new clip or a new background thing. It's this. It's that dirty.
Hey, I like the other one better. This one is
the heads I win, tails I lose. The heads I win, tails you lose. But that's the whole concept of they've known since forever that if you get people entrance into college that's higher than their abilities, that they do worse at that college and their graduation rate goes much, much higher. But these guys said, oh, these people must be asking why a black person's in the school because they think we're not smart enough to get here. And then we don't graduate. Don't you think that's because of your racism? And it's heads I win, tails you lose. Is this the other one that you liked?
Yeah. Well, because the other one I worry about will get us canceled because it's got booby nipples. Also saying booby nipples probably gets you flagged, but who knows?
Pretty sure it's a man's boobs though, so I think we're good.
Oh, that's okay. Oh wait, we just put drag queen story hour on top of that, and then we're okay.
Did you see also with that guy on Jonathan's thing? We were talking about both. See, of course, my position is both the right and the left ban. Like, it's like his position is the left never ever bans, and the right is book burning banners. Yeah. And it's my position, which is, again, it's just like the abortion thing, is the moderate one of saying I think both sides kind of get out over their skis. I'm not saying the right never bans. I say they both do the stuff, right?
No, again, this is one of those hatchling things. Like, I'm old enough to remember 1990 and the Christian right, what their response to The Simpsons, of all things. Like, I'm old enough to remember that. Man. Yeah, like I'm old enough to remember this.
We've made the point before, and Destiny said it with Bogosian this week, and I think it's just true, and we've always known it. Is one of the only reason. It's always true that the people who are out of power are more about free speech, and the ones who get in power start getting more and more draconian about we don't want debate, we don't need this stuff, we don't need this sort. And absolutely, a bunch of those Daily Wire guys would just flip right the hell right back over if they were back on top. One of the ways you can tell who's on top and who is not is by who's free speech and who isn't. And that's why as soon as you start seeing people like we should have discussions, you're like, okay, you're the underdog. That's what it is. I mean, that's one of the ways I lick my finger and test the winds out there, see who's crying for free speech on either one of those sides. But we've been saying that one since forever. But let me see if he says the thing about the graduation here.
He definitely says it a few times.
I gotta remove this. Move this. Add the stage.
Tears you completely down.
Man, I was just having the realization. I don't know if this makes sense. That like having such a white population is its own microaggression, or maybe a macroaggression.
Literally,
like I would just say, how does a place become so white? Like what had to have led to any
we just
population
take it for granted that white is bad.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just making
I mean, like if you think about like
what
it was deliberate,
right? Exactly. It wasn't just accidentally all white. Right?
It's impossible. Yeah, like if you think about like BYU's black graduation rate.
This is the most
transferring just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like
black people aren't transferring just for
that's
fun.
not how it works. Like
what do you mean? What is
I want to jump in the room and be like, do you guys know where babies come from?
No.
Do you guys literally not know where babies come from? Do you not understand population dynamics? Like, how did it get so white? Fucking retards. But
I
they're
know.
not retards, they're hatchlings.
The other guy, at one point, he's talking about microaggressions, and he explains that one time a 5-year-old girl called him a chocolate man because she had never seen a black person before. She's like, oh your kid's describing me as a chocolate man. I was like, okay, it's a fucking 5-year-old, dude. And what do you expect a 5-year-old who maybe hasn't seen a black man, what do you expect him to say? Like,
the other thing's like,
and you just fire back with like, hey, vanilla, or something like that. It doesn't mean anything.
Also, no, actually, it does mean something. Because I bet you if you ask a little girl, do you hate chocolate? She'd say, no, I like chocolate. In fact, I love chocolate. Chocolate is one of my favorite things. Like just this whole idea is like, oh, you got compared to something nice? That bitch. That 5-year-old bitch. Like if she said, oh, look, it's a dog turd man. Then you might have a case.
You might have a case. African American gentleman over there?
Mom, why does that guy the same color as the dog's poo? That might be a problem. Maybe. But like, oh, he's the color of chocolate. Yup. That's a thing that happens.
You actually are the same color. Like, your skin is brown, chocolate is brown. It's not an insult to notice that, especially from a fucking 5-year-old. Imagine being brought to your knees by a toddler. Like
my aunt from St. Louis adopted 3 little brown children, and 2 twin boys and a girl, Samoans and Hawaiians. They're Polynesians, and she would call them my little brown boys. Ah, my little brown boys. Like the idea that like there was anything but love dripping from every single one of those words. She loved her little brown boys, and she didn't love them because they were brown. She loved them because they were them, and they were brown, and so she loved her little brown boys. But like, no, this guy, like, I'm sure if I tell that story, like, oh yeah, and like if I just here's the story, like, oh yeah, there was a Mormon woman who adopted Samoans in 1978. By the way, no, I guess it was 79. Yeah, adopted Samoans in 1979, and she called them her little brown boys. Can you imagine how they would twist that into white supremacy? was like, no. She loved her children and they were brown. That's that. And I miss her. My Aunt Robin was the best lady ever.
Sounds racist to me.
Yeah, clearly.
So like the black graduation at BYU is like
58%.
58%, and while the white one is like 78 or 80 or something.
79.
79.
This
See,
this is according to the co-rep report in 2020.
Right.
And then for Native Americans, I think it's like 48%.
Right.
The concept that got brought up by Glenn Glowry and Thomas Sowell a million times about the problems of affirmative action, of putting people in. And the thing is, the kicker and the bad part about all that is very frequently those high-performing people who just even make it that far would do great at like the University of Utah or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, so this
No,
is this
but
kind of
then
brings
flip-
me
yeah,
back
it
to
was
the
like-
observation I always make. This whenever somebody asks me to define woke, I'm like, look, I want to tell you that it's like looking at life through a critical consciousness, right? Through a critical lens or whatever. But then I have to explain what that is. And the most succinct definition I can really give them, it's more of a symptom than an actual definition. It's like the idea that all disparate outcomes have to do with systemic oppression. And that's clearly what the lens these guys are looking through all the
Well,
time.
the other thing is like,
As
even
it's-
when
it's-
there are
I can
fixes,
prove it.
even
Yeah,
when
I
there
know,
are fixes.
I can
said is
prove
not
it.
what you just said is not just something they say. It is an article of faith.
Well, that's the Kendyism. That's why I say this is Kendyism. It's not even.
Yeah, it's not just an observation. It is. They begin from the premise: all racial disparities are the product of white supremacy. That's
and
they
if their
take it for
fixes
granted. I
cause,
assume you take it for granted.
if their fixes make it worse, it's more white supremacy. Which, speaking of which, they called this the white supremacist society about 80 million times in this. But,
yeah. Like I just wonder. It's like, well, because that's again one of those things where, like, if I lived somewhere where everybody hated me, I might go somewhere else. Like,
the thing is, like, that everybody loved
like,
him or would have
that
loved
thing's
him
like-
for it.
the
They
thing's
kind
like-
of mentioned it as like they felt as like the Truman Show, and I get that. Like,
I don't know,
I
like-
get that. Like, Mormons probably could have been like a bit awkwardly nice to you
Yeah, like
when you were
trying
all
to
on their
act
side.
overboard.
I mean, because I have to go back to it because I have a friend that her aunt married an extremely African man, and they were Mormon, and they had children in Utah County in the 80s and 90s. And like she related to me, like, you know, she talked to us like, you know, what, like, did you experience racism? They said no, like, because there were three of them. They said no, we were the most popular kids in school every year that we were in school. We could do no wrong. They loved us. Like, you know, it's just like it's like, well, wait a second, how did that work? And here's the other thing: it's like the same thing with my Samoan cousins, because for a long time they were the brown kids in their school. They were the most popular kids in their school. Like, granted, it helps that they were funny and charming. But like, yeah, no, I don't know. Like, so much for your white supremacy, guys. Like, it's not happening in Utah. It's not what you say it is, and I know it's not.
Yeah. So here's them talking about. I mean, they should listen to themselves and hear about how they've got like the racism moniker like locked and loaded, ready to fire it and pull it out at any little thing that you know, if somebody just like looks at you wrong, you're going to pull it out at them. But at the same time here, you're going to start talking about how white people are then racist because they're terrified of being called racist. Not like you guys don't walk around trigger happy to say that as fast as you can.
Because racist people were linked with those images of violence, those images of horror. They were linked with slavery, with the Ku Klux Klan, with lynchings. Like, those are the.
Is there ever like a thing where you stop and go like, don't you guys ever stop and wonder like why the whole world of people are wriggling and writhing to try to get away from that and not be called that, but yet you're still in a society that is the worst thing in the world for you or something like that, where you can become internet stars because people want to wriggle and writhe and run from that. That's the super duper racist planet you're in.
Things that come to mind when
here's
we
the-
think of racism and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people, white people especially, are terrified to be hit with that label or with that connotation because of the implications of that, right? Because there's no way that a good person can possibly, be a member of the Ku Klux Klan. There's no way you can be an upstanding Christian in your community, a member of, your local city government, but then also ride with the KKK at night. There's no way that those can be possible.
So they're very worried about being good people, and that's a problem. That's a problem for them, right? Which gets into a whole other thing. I don't know if we want to go into it, but have you seen like the whole thing of like defining morality over on Thoughtful Saints? Flip hasn't been watching that, I'm sure, but that's.
Did you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Let me come back to it.
This is kind of fascinating. I want to know what was going on in 1884. Let's look at that. Because, yeah, like, obviously, the majority of lynchings over time were black people, clearly. But significant number were always also white people. But also, like, what was happening? What was this? Is that Bloody... No, that's not Bloody Kansas, because Bloody Kansas was, like, 30 years before that. What the fuck was happening there? Really, I wonder. Like, and then that, like, I think that's the KKK right there. Then the 1930s, that's when they had their next peak, or I guess the 1920s. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. But like, because that's the other thing is like, I know that most people don't know that white people were lynched. Also, they don't know that a lot of these lynchings were perpetuated by, at least in part, black people, if not also black people. Like, black people lynched fellow black people, white people lynched fellow white people. That also happened, I mean, the whole thing, like two of the people who murdered Emmett Till were black. But whatever.
Risto says, I like when you said earlier, Risto, that what's her name does Costco. She did Costco spirituality. But ask GPT to why do white people exist? Well, I'd probably just give you one of those answers of I'm not allowed to pontificate on such things. I am the Chat GPT program to pretend this question doesn't exist, is my guess. But anyway, back to these guys. Just going more over, like, he tells his story of his mission, and I can kind of sympathize with his mission, but partially because I sympathize that he's a head case. He got sent home multiple times from his mission and struggled with it real hard. I get that. I struggled the living hell out of my mission. I never got sent home or anything, but boy, golly, like nowadays, the way they are about mental health. I mean, I don't know. I was never one to like wake up crying and refuse to go out like he said he did or something like that. But
oh no, it just sucks.
Yeah. There's something about it where he kind of like reveals like he's got like a little bit of his scrupulosity of like even when he was a Mormon, he's the one who felt like he had to tell everybody else how to do the stuff right and behave right and that sort of stuff. Although there's all sorts of stuff that I just can't square with him. Like he says, you know what? I don't like being around these Mormons who don't respect the physicality and the sexual beings of women and all that sorts of stuff. But I can't be around these Mormons who never tell dirty sex jokes.
Yeah, what
like,
are you talking about, man?
Yeah, did you notice like it's like you're playing like how do you tell sex jokes that don't I don't know. Maybe this is my toxic masculinity talking here. Is there a way to tell respectful sex jokes that offend Mormons?
And so I told her, would you consent to me touching your butt now?
Would you consent me touching your butt now? Har 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 har. Us guys have fun laugh. It just doesn't make sense. It's just obviously not true. Like the way he's
the preamble for woke jokes is always hilarious. Like, well, just so you know, every interaction in this joke I'm about to tell you was entirely consensual. The partners both talked about it beforehand. They both have a BDSM kink. So anything that might look like a microsexual assault was actually just two consenting adults.
Here, I want to share the Jonathan's Beautiful Trouble post there. He said, is this group asking on Mormon stories? Is this group an example of what Brittany Hartley is talking about? Probably not. But if we to not get removed. But if we lose the capacity to consider that it might be, then it is. The part of the conversation right after this clip is telling, though. They both agree that they better not say too much more about it so that they don't get in trouble. Is it culty if you can't even freely discuss the possibility? Great interview with lots to consider. Anyway, back to these dudes. So they end up talking about Wilcox, and Wilcox is what gave them their lift. They're both I mean, it just kind of like unironically say that they're thankful for Wilcox lifting him up, and so is John Dehlin, because both of them got extreme amounts of views. Which, once again, ask yourself why you're in a nation where you can go super viral because a guy said something mildly racist. Does that mean that you're in the most racist time in history and all that stuff? You super oppressed douches. Let's see. I'm so tired of people just feigning,
I know. It's just like I don't
feigning this
fucking feel
bullshit oppression everywhere. Taylor Swift's oppressed. These two guys are oppressed. Come on. Let's see here. What other crap was said in there?
Oh shit, man.
He loves
when they
activism.
started
He
talking
got
about
into
Wilcox-
activism. The reason he got into activism is because that was his life's calling, and now he just does that. And they could have made a bunch more money if they would have set up their thing right, because they got all sorts of views, and now they just can't go viral like they once did. He
thank
says,
God.
"You better not come up and talk to me and ask me about stuff about your racism and all that sorts of stuff when I'm at the Walmart and that.
Don't come at me at Walmart. I saw that, and because John, of course, did that stupid cuck thing where he's sitting there interviewing this guy whose entire shtick is talking about systemic racism, and then he asks him about systemic racism and says, "But of course, it's not your job to educate me." It was like, dude, I know that what you're doing right now is just moral posturing. I know, because you want to know why I know that? Because he's here to talk about it. Like, he came on your podcast to talk about systemic oppression.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah.
I am an expert of racism, and I know why and how and that you are racist, but it's not my job to tell you that you are racist. It's not my job to teach you why you're a racist. It's my job to tell you that you are racist. Yeah.
Well, so they talked about the thing of like Wilcox getting them attention, and then they went and confronted Wilcox in a classroom, but then they got upset when one of those Kruger Chronicle guys went and confronted them. And obviously it was okay for them to go corner Wilcox, but not okay for the Cougar Chronicle guy to corner them. And then there's what was I going to say about it? There's that part where they talk about when they're terrified, that white people are terrified to talk to them. They said, don't talk in different ways. Just talk normal. Don't talk in Ebonics. I think, does he call it Ebonics? They use that other word for it. What's that other word? The kind of more, what is it?
AAV.
And then they
African American vernacular.
I'll just look up vernacular. But what I think is so funny is because I can pull up examples in this, and they say white people start talking like this, like you see Quentin Tarantino do. But I'm pretty sure I can pull up a couple moments where John Dehlin kind of breaks into AAV a little bit. I think I can.
Does he call him my brother?
What's that?
I mean, I know we already looked at it, but I'm just looking at it again. I'm sharing this again, this lynching screen, but come back to this. This is one of those things where it's like, you know, when they talk about how like 6,000 black men were gunned down by black men in Chicago between 2016 and 2020. And these guys are worried about the white supremacy of a legacy of lynching. And the peak year of lynching of black people in America was 161. Like, so more black kids are killed by black kids in Chicago in like 3 months than
Hey,
the
are you
worst
noticing
year
things
of lynching ever? And also, like
no noticing,
because that is like that's kind of weird. Also, like I like how these. I'm interesting how like some of these things where it's like here's this one, we're like, oh, we're leaving the white people alone, but black people. Then this one, everybody's like, fucking lynching, we're lynching, and then here like, oh, let's calm down. And then like, no, we're back.
It's a South Parkian storyline.
I'm not presenting anymore, right? Yeah, okay.
They start to speak in like AAVE, and they like are like brother, and they
elaborate on what that is.
African American vernacular English. So like when people say like they're speaking black, like that's what African American vernacular English is,
formerly known as Ebonics.
Ebonics, right? Like it is a language amongst black people, and it has grammatical rules, like has everything, and like there has actually been studies where like black kids and white kids took a same test, And when it was using AAV, African American Vernacular English, and the black kids scored well and white kids didn't score well at all. Because it's like, it is a language and it has meaning and whatever.
No, it's a
So
dialect.
like, but
Yeah, it's a
It's not a
dialect.
language.
It's
It's
not
a
a language,
dialect.
buddy.
It's a dialect, and yeah, but like, because that's things like this whole idea where like, because the thing like when you talk about white language versus Ebonics, like these test things, like, okay, no, first off, bullshit. What you're talking about is standard English versus Ebonic English. I guarantee that if you did the same game with hillbillies in North Georgia, you'd have the same effect. I goddamn guarantee if you wrote a test in standard English and in North Georgia hillbilly dialect, the North Georgia hillbillies would do better in North Georgia hillbilly. But that's not an evidence of anything other than someone's level of education, really.
Man, it's
Which
pretty hilarious.
is by
that, like,
itself
part
not
of
a
your-
value judgment. Which is by itself not a value judgment. This is the thing that's very important. I don't make it a value judgment that somebody is educated or not educated by itself. It's just something you know about them. It's not a value judgment. But like that explains your dumb test thing. Like, yeah. And also,
it's
like,
pretty funny that one of your complaints of systemic injustice is that they don't write tests in a specific dialect that is generally grammatically incorrect. Like
Yeah.
how many hillbillies would score better if instead of saying we were going to the store, the question said we was going to the store or whatever, you know, like
We was going to the stove. Let's see. You guys tell me. You guys be the judge, because I think they were just complaining about when white people start talking a little bit more.
Is
with their
Dehlin gonna say
vernacular.
my brother?
Well,
Dallas
it's
is
not exactly that, but it's close.
plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my time in Utah is also coming to an end soon.
God damn it. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear.
Gotta move on with real life.
Delete that. Y'all are both freaking leaving?
Yeah, I'll come back every once in a while.
Y'all are both freaking leaving.
I don't know.
Potentially. I don't know.
Ugh. We need y'all, man. Anyway.
No.
We need y'all, man. Is that not? We need y'all, man.
I wish the only thing that would have made that better is if he was like, shit.
That is right. I'm not like smoking crack. We need y'all, man.
He did the
No, that definitely sounds
Hillary
like
Clinton. You remember the Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
I've been tired. But also, I do like
Hot
this idea, like,
sauce. I keep hot sauce in my purse.
yeah. But also, it's like, John, you want more racists in Utah? You think that's what Utah needs? Two fucking psychotic racists, like that clearly have cluster B personality disorders. I mean, like this guy, like God bless him. Like I've got mental issues, not a judgment, but you're not well, buddy. Like you've got issues. Like God damn it! Like you. The worst thing that ever happened to you was growing up in Utah and going to BYU. Like, oh my God, what a nightmare!
The horror. The horror.
The horror. The horror.
Let's listen to this on slower speed.
should try to find- I just like this is one of those things I always want to ask these people when they talk about American and white colonialism and all this crap. I'm like, do you know anything about Liberia? Have you followed that? Have you followed the whole Liberia thing at all? Just wondering.
I wish you could find the spot where he actually asks them for examples of racism that they've experienced, and they like start stuttering and stumbling over their words and say like, "Well,
I probably could just by searching
people think we play
racism.
basketball or whatever." But yeah,
Let's first listen to this on slow motion.
We need y'all, man.
I gotta do it again.
We need y'all, man.
We need y'all, man. We need y'all, man. We need y'all, man.
Shit, man.
Shit.
Why ain't y'all come up in our crib? You dig?
God damn, we need y'all, man. God damn.
Because like if John Dehlin right now would be like, come on, we need to my N-words. Like, but he literally said N-word. He didn't say the
Holy
N-word. He
shit,
just said
he's so funny.
N-word. Is that bad? Is it worse than saying the real thing, or better? I don't know. I wonder.
All right, we got 56
Troy.
racisms.
I had the same thought. Troy Levitt. I had the exact same thought. He sounds like Biden. Come on, man.
Come
If
on,
you don't know
man.
to vote me, you ain't black.
You don't vote no black man. Regarding
You ain't
section
donate
racism
to
and
mom and
sexism.
strawberries, you ain't black.
If you don't know if you're for John Dehlin or Trump, then you ain't black.
It'd be easier if you look up microaggression.
Well, we hit that one already on the because it came right before and right after that one big main quote.
How long have we been going? Oh, 2 hours, 20 minutes?
2 hours and 20. See, these are all the stuff just right around that other thing.
I took a diversity and inclusion class where I learned.
You took a diversity and an inclusion class.
That's not a class. That's seminary.
About microaggressions.
This is where he
and
apologizes
systemic
for-
racism.
Yeah.
That was in my 40s. Can we
Oh,
talk
my
about
goodness.
a better understanding of what the term racist means?
How embarrassing. I wasn't
for
struggle
white people
session
to
until I
think.
was in
don't
my
say the N-word,
40s.
I'm not racist. I don't
Sure.
hate black people, so I'm not racist.
Yeah.
There's a broader definition of the word racism, systemic racism, that helps people understand the term a little better.
Yeah. I think,
and I apologize. I don't want to act like
Broader
it's your job to teach us.
definition makes you understand it better. What a weird thing to say. Like, no, because like normally narrow definitions are better than broader definitions because narrow definitions are clear. Like you just did that backwards. Because like, no, what they call racism, John, is not the narrow definition of racism, which is the belief that people can be divided by race. No, it's the very broader definition that includes all kinds of excuses for and moral imperatives to be racist. Literally, like that's things like these two guys are extremely racist. They just feel morally justified in their racism, and that's the racism that you're talking about, John Dehlin.
I mean, they literally got mad at a whole town for being white. I don't know how do you not get more racist than that? Be like, oh my god, like if I walked out, if I walked into a Winco right now, it's like, oh my god, look at all these Mexicans. Like everybody would look at me like, what the fuck, man? Why are you doing that? Why are you being that way? But if you go and say the same thing, like it anywhere, like, oh, look at all these fucking white people. The white people even jump in like, oh, I know it's terrible. We're truly the worst.
I like this this meme that was shared by Julie Bailing. It's Michelle Obama saying someone's going to have to give a piece of their pie so that someone else can have more, and then it just shows all their property and all their mansions and stuff like that. Let's see here. More microaggressions
have within us. Like, it's not an option. Like, you're born in America. So sorry, racism is within you.
You're not sorry, you're joyous about it. Your check depends on it or on you claiming it. Your whole life depends on it. Like you don't want to get rid of it. That's the problem with any sort of becoming any sort of professional activist. If you were successful, you'd be out of a job, which is basically where all of critical race theory comes from, is keeping something alive because you're about to lose the money train on something if it really does get squashed.
Why am I unable to comment in the comments?
Because you're a racist. I blocked you from
what?
Yeah, that one showed up.
Because this is what I've tried to post. Because I'm responding to Forrest, and I say
you didn't know you could search the transcripts for us.
Yeah, Forrest didn't have this. Yeah,
man.
And so I tried. I'll tell you exactly what it. I posted. I have a fantasy of supercutting Olive Carden's "Science rules" and "Science literally invented racism" quotes, and it wouldn't let me post it. And I tried rewriting it slightly different, and it wouldn't let me post it.
There was a time frame where they stopped, like it got weird and it stopped posting them, but now it seems to be pretty universal that it makes them almost immediately too. There was a time frame where I couldn't get them on Kara's and couldn't pull them, but they're all.
What is the word in there? Racism? Can I say racism?
I'm doing the microaggressions. Hold on.
Oh, like microaggressions, like
what's
questioning somebody has the education level to attend a school rather than not being an athlete, right? Like a microaggression can be something like, can I touch your hair? Like, oh my gosh, you look so exotic. Like these are little things that feel like nothing, but are something because you're
they are
othering
nothing.
a person
No, they are
because they're
nothing.
not you and because they're not the norm.
And you have therapists all over the world teaching you to
Yeah.
catastrophize these things. Catastrophize.
When I used to put my hair, when I used to ask my friends to braid my hair in hippie braids, and I'd go to the free concerts in Pioneer Park. Like, I mean, granted, they were almost certainly on ecstasy, but girls were always asking to touch my braids. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. It was a little weird because sometimes they were presumptuous and they would feel my hair, and then I'd go, and then that would be that, and then I moved on with my life and I survived.
But you
I'm
were
a
a threat.
survivor. I'm a survivor of microaggression. Someone asked to touch my hair, and then actually someone touched my hair without asking. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Women will do that. That's
Yeah.
there's no.
No, because that's like this is another one of those things where I'm like, because this is one of those things where like when feminists talk about like being asked to smile, like the only people who've ever asked me to smile have only ever been women, and like I'm also wondering like, 'cause the whole like the black people, can I touch your hair? I'm guessing it's women. Just guessing, like because I've never been like, ooh, can I touch your hair?
That's absolutely a woman thing.
It's a thing, and I remember
and
I
I'm sure
told it.
But it's like, I mean, is it the worst thing in the world to have like
I told
hair
a
with
gal
incredible
once.
texture that people like? Like, is that weird?
I told
like,
a gal once who was like the nicest girl I know and actually made friends with other women very easily all the time, and who was totally guilty of sometimes going up and talking to women. And the problem is that she would do it to a white woman just the same. She would go touch her hair or something like that. But the way she'd go and start talking to women is like, hey, I love your hair. Oh my gosh, how'd you do this? Oh, I'm doing that. That's just being how women are. We could show you the beginning of the Nuance Ho and Brittany thing of them talking about how it's just different when you're talking with women and you're getting this sort of thing. Well, that's how she was with a lot of women. She made friends with women very easily. And I remember telling her about this microaggression thing and it just deflating her entirely. I mean, I shouldn't have even told her, but of course somebody would have told her sooner or later. It wouldn't have been somebody being like me about it, or
No, I'm convinced that at this point, like anybody who has worked in anything like just retail type environments has experienced the thing where you ask somebody a perfectly ordinary question like, "Can I help you find something?" And it is a black person, and they react as though you are profiling them. This is a thing that just happens now. It's happened to me. It's not frequent, but I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen in my store more than once to other people. Like I told you guys the other day about how I got accused of racially profiling because I asked a Mexican if he watched the soccer game. But like, yeah, because like that guy, like that's because because he left, he was all pissy. I'm like, what the hell was that? And the guy was like,
Okay,
he came in. He came in and was immediately mad because I asked him if he needed help. And like they have this like, and they say this like, why do you think I need help? Can't I just shop? Like, fucking asshole! I'm just trying to help you.
No,
Like,
that's the type of person that loves that. But that's a thing. You actually did racially profile him. You know what I mean? And who cares? Like that's like if you see any Mexican man is significantly more likely to be a fan of soccer, specifically the Mexican soccer team, than your normal white guy.
Like,
So
no, like
the worst
like,
case
I
is
ask a
he says,
Mexican,
I'm
"Do
actually
you
not a
watch
fan
the
of soccer.
game." Yeah, like because also like it wasn't any soccer game. It happens to be Mexico versus United States. They are arch rivals, right? Like it wasn't any old soccer game. It was a pretty big game too. Like even the kind of game that Mexicans who aren't ordinarily into soccer might have found themselves watching or having an opinion because they were around someone who did. But whatever. I'm a racist.
No, I remember being asked all the time if I was German. When I was in, people hear a funny accent. Most foreigners in southern Brazil that look like me are German. Imagine being butthurt by that. Like, or where are you from? That's one of the craziest things. Like, would people who have like a thick accent get angry because somebody asks, "Where are you from?" I am from America. Why do you ask me that?
Yeah.
Because you sound different. What are you talking about? Like, I never got mad at people for that. Like, oh, where are you from? It's like, what do you mean? Where am I from? Like, well, you have a accent, and oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm from.
It's
America.
all
Oh,
obviously
okay.
like such a way to make sure that you can't be friendly or become friends with those people. Like you're
Yeah.
creating the divide bigger and making it harder
Yeah.
to talk
No,
to
because,
people.
yeah, it's another one of those heads I win, tails you lose. Because, okay, so you come in, you have a different skin color, a different hairstyle, different clothings, and you speak English with a heavy accent. And I notice none of it. Well, that's because I'm racist. But if I say, "Oh, hi, where are you
Yeah,
from?"
you can't be you can't what is that,
Yeah.
colorblind? You can't be
Yeah.
colorblind. Don't
Yeah.
be colorblind.
Yeah, like if I just say, "Oh, I'm not going to acknowledge any difference at all." I'm, like that's not okay. But if I say, "Oh, where are you from?" Oh, that's also not okay. It's like the other thing is, like, I don't know. Like I went to the UK for 2 weeks and it was fun. For me, it was fun walking around and being the different guys. Like, because as soon as like in America, I walk around and if I speak, nobody notices anything unless I'm speaking Spanish, and then they go, "Huh?" But like in England, immediately everyone's like, "Where are you from?" Like, and I was like, "You dickhead, how dare you? What the fuck?" You're like, "No, yeah, I'm from America." Because the thing is, I can understand. It's like they probably assumed I'm an American, could have been a Canadian, but there's like a 90-10 ratio there, and I don't know how many English people could suss out a Canadian accent from an American accent. Maybe not, but like, yeah, it's that simple. And that thing's like, at no time I was like, "Why are you fucking asking me that, you British piece of shit?" Just because I walk into your store and talk funny and use the wrong words for things. Like, I remember, like, I walked into a place asking for the restroom. They're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
You know that guy,
like, you blinked at me, I'm like, "Oh yes." I was like, "Oh yes." Water
that guy
closet.
Zuby, he's British, has a completely American accent and is black, and he's actually British. Like I'm
Is he? I didn't know.
yeah,
He does have an American accent.
yeah,
Why
and
did
he's
he have an
actually
American
born in Britain. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing I'm really surprised about. Because, like, so my son moved to England when he was like 8. So he has an American accent, but his little brother, his half brother, that was born and raised in Merseyside, with an American mom and a Scouser dad, he has an American accent. It's funny, like he basically sounds American except for like vocabulary and then a little bit of pronunciation, where like he says consonants that Americans drop. But like, yeah, and it's really weird to me. Like, it's strange because, like,
That is
I play
weird.
video games with him. Yeah, it is weird. And like, because I asked my son, like, really, he's an American? It's like, yeah, I think it's because my mom, like, he just talks like mom does. So I don't know.
Hey,
But yeah, that was
bad.
weird because, like, the
But, like,
younger siblings, when
none
I
of
hear
my
them talk in the background, they sound like little Scousers.
Sure, but like none of my Mexican friends that were raised here with like Mexican, like actual from Mexico parents in the home, they all have American accents, even though their parents
Well,
have.
there is something else because, like,
That's weird.
There is an American Polynesian vernacular too. Like, Polynesians, even the ones who were born and raised in America, they have that sound. Like, I don't know how to describe it because I know a lot of Polynesians, but even the ones that are born and raised here, like they talk like Polynesians.
Well, they
They're
also
speaking
say
English.
they also seem to have a different like texture of voice almost. Like that's when I think there's a lot of times you can recognize. It's very rare
Yeah.
that you won't be able to recognize that a man is black by hearing his voice. Like sometimes.
Oh, they're very.
Like if you hear John McWhorter talk, you probably wouldn't be able to guess it or whatever. But like,
I mean, I know when I was a bill collector and I one of my books was Birmingham, and that seems like you could tell immediately just by the voice because they all sounded the same. They all had the same Birmingham accent. No, but there is something there. Like, it's not 100%. It's not absolute, and there are absolutely exceptions like that flip flop. But like Morgan Freeman sounds like a black man.
oh yeah,
like there is like no, and the other thing, it's not that crazy to think about because like there are differences in bone structure. And it's like in the same way, like if you shape a trumpet horn in a different way, it'll have a different timbre. That's all there is to it. What do
Did
you
you
drink?
see that?
I don't want to talk about it.
There was a new Jussie Smollett
Barefoot Moscato, like Troy Levitt. Was it Troy that's drinking barefoot and what?
It's he mixed barefoot and White Claw.
Oh yeah, no, I think he's kidding, but maybe not. Because the
I
people who
mix,
drink
I mix
barefoot, like
shitty. I mix shitty vodka with Crystal Light.
no, see, that's what I was gonna say. Like, because that's what I was about to say. Is like, if you are drinking barefoot because you like barefoot, but you think that it's good to drink wine, you are fooling yourself. You should drink Kool-Aid and vodka.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys
Alas.
see this this new race hoax that I'm sure these guys might repeat as like a race
Oh.
hoax? Listen to this principle.
You still on the heads I win, tails you lose.
Wait, did you click? Nothing's happening.
Darn thing.
We're such good podcasters. Boris talks about a chick slapping his ass, and me too. But that brings up a real
I've been. If this was a world where I was the female and they're the male, I have been sexually harassed.
Because here's the thing, because Chris Hanna is ripped and just walks around being sexy and talented and can't stop himself from doing it, right? Whereas like I am not. I am a big fat guy, and I'm a loudmouth, and I'm not the kind of person that women give a lot of attention to. And yet, when I was a Lyft driver, like a few years ago, I did the Lyft thing for extra money, and I did the bar scene. Oh my God, drunk girls are handsy. They make comments. They're like, they are not shy about it. And like, now it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I didn't like it. And like, and granted, no woman ever pushed it far enough that I had to like
Lot of you,
do
gay.
something about it. Like, holy fucking, because I mean, like I think I said, but I have sent 0 dick pics in my life. It makes I don't want to do it. I never will do it. I have been asked for them by nice feminist girls. What the fuck is up with that, you creeps? Also, I have received unsolicited pictures of vaginas. I didn't ask for them. I don't particularly want them.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like just a close up of a vagina. You're like, oh.
I mean, not like
Cool.
porn star close up. Like it was girls trying to do girl porn, but like that was a coos. Like you sent me a picture of a coos. That was weird.
No, I always think it's like, who's sending these unsolicited? Because I remember talking to my feminist ex-Mormon rival who's trying to explain to me that every woman you know has received unsolicited pictures of like an unsolicited dick pic, and I was like, no, they haven't. They have, and like I asked my wife, she's like, no, I've never done it, and she was even saying like your mom probably has, and and I'd be like, I asked my wife, and she's like, well, I don't know, you sent me a picture of your balls at one time just to be a dork.
So I have been directly harassed, although luckily for them, I believe in like the differences of a male and a female world and all that sorts of stuff, by 2 different females who have placed themselves at levels of being the top of certain intersectional hierarchies in certain ways, and they directly harassed me, and it was not consensual or returned in any way, shape, or form, and it was touching.
It was
unsolicited grabbing or saying stuff to me.
Drop no signal.
Multiple to them, and it's happened by them. And what I'm saying is the claims that Jen and Rosebud have made against Dehlin, I have stronger claims if this was opposite world against some certain people who proclaim themselves to be high-level feminists.
Some people who have it in their job title.
Yeah.
That you have heard of.
But we're not in a Me Too world where we get to go undo their whole, and I wouldn't even do it anyway. And then secondly, beyond that too, is because I get that there's differences in a lot of stuff. I never felt threatened or anything like oh my gosh, she just did that to me. Now she's going to pin me down or something.
You didn't go install bars on your windows because of
exactly.
And shit, sex talk.
But it happens. Listen to this.
I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag, or these teachers who don't get it, how hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations? Lawrence and Ravenel should have never been hired. And don't let me get started on DJ. I'm going to drag his black ass out of here one way or another. I'm going to get something to stick. I'm just so sick of the inadequacies of these people. And if I have to get one more complaint from one more Jew in this community, I'm going to join the other side.
This
What is that?
was
What is that?
created by AI.
Oh.
Used to frame a white principle.
Oh, is that the framer?
Yep, this is the framer right here.
Oh, race hoax.
I feel like that's going to only be like the start of people trying to pull crap like that. It's completely AI generated.
Jeez.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, now here's the other thing is like, so this came out as like, oh, look, I wonder right now if there's like 187 people across the country who are contemplating suicide because they lost their jobs over AI bullshit. Like, because the whole thing where it's like, when you catch one, that means that 1,000 people got away with it. Like, this scares me. Like, oh, this means that somebody has already.
It sounded pretty real to me.
Yeah, like I'm listening to it going like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Who's saying this? Oh, it was made up. Like the only part that sounded fake was that there was only one side of the conversation, but I figured it was edited that way. But yeah, I don't know. So
and they're only going to
they
get better.
caught
at
the
them.
framer. Is this the framer?
That's the framer, yeah.
Okay, so he was arrested. Dehlin Darien. I wonder what that's about, huh?
He was the former athletic director. He was arrested and charged for fabricating the tape.
Man, if you're black and you can't make it as an athletic director of a high school, that's a problem.
Do you want to see if Brittany loses her card too? I mean, she just immediately goes back into the patriarchy and feminism and stuff. Y'all had such a good single podcast. You should have just left it that one podcast
right
this
now
week.
from your interview about the amazing book you have coming out. But I too am like, there is something special about that podcast.
I don't mean to like kick out men because I know sometimes in these like feminist
God damn it.
women spaces we have some things to say about men, and this isn't meant to be like man hating, but there's something about talking with women that just gets down to the experience of life rather than sometimes with podcasters that I do that are male podcasters. We just want to talk about isms, like what is stoicism and how does it relate to existentialism? And like, I can play that game and that's fine. But like me and you were crying because it was real and it was our lives and it was our
Oh my
kids.
God. Is this the craziest thing?
You just
Men care more about objects and women care more about feelings. What's the weirdest? Men are more concerned with truth and women are more concerned with feelings. My God, what the hell? Amazing. And you don't like men shitting on your feeling space. That's interesting because men don't like when women shit on their rational space with their dumb feelings. What a strange world we live in.
like we're still uniting as a family, even though we don't say
Yeah.
a prayer, and a holiday that is unique to us that we can look forward to. For me, for our family, it's May 4th. It's Star Wars Day, and we talk about good and evil, and we make a big deal out of it.
Now you're canceled. I'm Star Wars Jewish.
Me too.
I only believe in the Old Testament. And if you go adding in these crappy New Testaments,
the three
to my
movies in the holiday
Star
special
Wars
are canon.
Talmud.
The three movies in the holiday special are canon, which means
Yes.
that B. Arthur is the bartender at Mos Eisley Cantina. That is canon.
And if
I
you go
will-
trying to bring your dispensationalism Star Wars into my Jewish tradition of Star Wars, we're going to have bombs in our world. I'm going to have an Iron Dome to keep you out. A big old wall. That's one of the things that I was going to point out is that guy said no Democrats ever voted for immigration or any sort of wall like that. I'm like, well, there's a wall over there in Gaza that they vote for.
Yeah. For us, it was Luke Skywalker, Steve, Darth Vader, Berg.
Darth Vader, Berg. What was the name?
Hey, notice there's no. Did you ever see
He's supposed to be a representative of the Nazis, not Darth Vader.
Oh my goodness, my sinuses are acting up.
I mean, I guess that's kind of like right up the alley of
Drop my lightsaber on my toe. This is
Oh my
gonna
God!
be
They
very
blew up.
good.
They blew
Well, I
up
mean, that's totally
Alderaan,
what
and Alderaan had
Spaceballs.
the best bagels. Where am I going to get?
No, they stuck. They hit the Death Star right in the Gushnuggan. I'm
You
telling
guys
you
are going
what.
harder at it than Mel Brooks. The Schwartz is with me. You guys are going even more Jewish than he did with it.
We had to schlep our way all the way to the Death Star.
but Darth Vader Berg, that's I mean, that's even funnier than Rick Moranis' giant head. All right. Anyway, we've revoked your base card, Brittany. You got it for a minute. Both you and Dehlin got it for a minute, and it's now revoked. But that's a record. You guys made it like a day. Like, when was that other one released? Because I watched it today, but it was like 2 days it was out, right?
Dehlin lost it hard though, because he's within like 24 hours, he said both the most based and reasonable thing he's ever said, and also the dumbest thing he's ever said. Like,
Just all the way back to the
I've
dumbest.
never seen someone fall off that hard. It's like if Anna Kasparian were starting to talk about how maybe Kyle Rittenhouse was good, and like he was justified self-defense. But anyway, all white people are racist and sexist, and that was such a fall, man.
Yeah, it was pretty immediately canceled. But at the same time, well, I don't know. I guess she said a more based thing. But yeah, way to go, you goobers. Good try. I don't know if there's much more Black Menaces. I mean, we went through his like whole story, but I mean, that's enough of it.
Yeah,
You
no,
guys
we
are
got
goobies.
Dude, there's a lot in there.
Oh yeah, you could do the whole 5 hours bit by bit.
I know they outright quote Kendi.
Oh yeah,
and they bring him up. They and like if you're gonna bring up any of it, Kendi, come on, he's even dumber than D'Angelo. D'Angelo's not even all that dumb. She's just an actual racist who's always like, hey, you know
actual
how
racist and grifter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
know.
like-
Well, it's like, hey, you know how it really
D'Angelo
sucks
is
anytime black
the
people
den
are
mother
around.
supreme. She's the den mother supreme. Like D'Angelo, I am convinced is like a malignant narcissist.
Oh yeah, well, and it's like she projects all of her racism onto everyone else. It's like, you know how when you like see a black person and you just start seething inside? Well, that's your internal racism. I was like, no, I don't. The rest of us don't get that.
You know when you're scared of seeing black people? Like, no, I don't, Robin. I don't know. Oh boy.
Leftist Church,
Oh,
the
this was
protests
funny as fuck.
still going all over everywhere.
This sounds fun.
I don't know when these are going to stop. They might, just like the summer of Floyd, they might keep these going just through the dang summer. Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna show you this real quick. Did you see already that they are already? Oh man, I gotta put on my thing. They are already trying to make gardens again, like just like in the Chaz.
Like in Chaz?
They started making Chaz gardens again.
They started making like in the Yale's quad.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Huh?
Dude, that's funny.
Look at this. Kind of looking forward to the farming exhibits at the new autonomous zones at these college campuses. How will they improve upon the designs of the past? Like maybe the communism will work this time, guys. They're gonna make like a good garden this time.
Oh my god! Like, okay, so if they all worked really, 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 really hard, and harvest kept this garden for many weeks, and then come September, October, what they could make enough salad for what 10 people. 30 people.
Salad.
They could make 1 day
30
of
calories, 30 calories each for 1 day.
Like, and oh my god,
and we spent all our water on it. They're so ridiculous, man. But they might look like they're trying to be in for the long haul. There's a lot of people pointing out that it looks like they have some sort of weird funding going into it too, as well.
undoubtedly.
Let's listen to this
Yeah,
chick.
What is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're. Do you know what NYU is doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here? I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia, and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support, so I came down. I heard there's lots of cops. Some people were saying it was getting dangerous.
And what would you say is the
Was it Bill
I get
Maher?
this- I get the same-
about recreational anger. Was that Bill Maher? Like that's what this
don't
was.
know.
Like the girl's like, hey, like, should we go bowling? I don't know. We went bowling last week. Should we go protest Israel? Okay. What do you think?
Girls
Oh,
just
what
wanna
the-
have fun.
Wait, why are we here?
When I watch that, I'm like, I get the same thing, like that classic old guy watching porn thing where he just goes, "Oh fuck, this is someone's daughter." I'm watching this woman, and I'm like, I'm picturing her.
Somebody's
dad
paying
walking-
$89,000
Yeah,
a semester.
and he's just
for
like,
that.
"Oh Jesus Christ,
what are
Carol,
the
you
tests
got to
you're
come
talking about?
home. This is not working." And,
Like, what are
and
the
it's
tests-
funny how she just jumped right into it. She could have just left it at like, "We're here to support Palestine," and then just been vague like that. But she's just like, "I don't know."
Part of me in my soul just knows that, like, if we found out who she was, it would be like Rebecca Rosenthal. Like, I just feel in my bones that
Oh
girl.
yeah, it's gonna be luxury belief people entirely, 100%.
Yeah.
Looks like Antifa people are back in business. Jared even had an argument with an Antifa person this week or something, or that person claimed to be.
4 officers were injured. That's okay. It's okay to injure cops when you're doing the right kind of illegal protest in favor of a genocidal Islamist terrorist group.
But a lot of people are saying that they think the cops should back off and not go arrest them again, just like happened in the summer of Floyd, because they're trying to get the optics of them looking over authoritarian to redouble down on everything, because everything's heads I win, tells you lose.
No, like this, I don't know. This stuff is terrifying because, like, to look at this level of mobilization from the future, the children of the future. These are college kids. Like, these kids are all 1, 2, 3 years away from their jobs with their college degrees, where they will be driving America forward. And this is what they think. They support Hamas. Like, okay.
So look at this. The lady who runs NPR, who we talked about last week, turns out Mr. Rufo's been digging into that she was actually CIA, and she was part of the color revolutions in the Middle East and North Africa that helped bring in regime changes with those the Arab Spring and all that sorts of stuff by taking over the radio stations in that area. Because now NPR has been bringing the color revolution home, which is something I've been saying to people for several years, is we're just seeing color revolution tactics used on our own society now, like they did to others for years and years and years.
Yeah, the dude set himself on fire again.
Yeah, that was awesome. Although that guy's weird because, like, he basically bought into every conspiracy theory from every side.
I know.
He sued the Clintons.
He
thought, yeah, it was every single possible thing. He was against the World Economic Forum. He was against the Clintons. Then he was against Trump, and he was against the corporations, and he was against it was just all the things. I like this one by the Babylon Bee. Columbia students leaves lecture on microaggressions to attend Kill the Jews rally.
Oh, that's perfect.
Did you guys know? I was looking this up. I saw this thing on TikTok. Putin's nuke map. Like, Salt Lake in Utah is like one of the main places on Putin's nuke map, supposedly.
Yeah. Hill Air Force Base.
It's like Boise's on there. Go ahead. It's like
Hill
Portland.
Air, I mean, well, no, well, yeah, no, like, I mean, I remember in the 80s when we were actually still in the Cold War. My teacher mentioned, like, oh no, like Salt Lake City is a target, like, because we have The Hill Air Force Base is 30 miles north of
When
here.
it's down to just like 5 targets, Salt Lake City's still a target.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Because like we have we have the Air National Guard helicopter base and airport, and then we have like the Air National Guard base that abuts the Salt Lake Airport. Like, no, there's a lot of military shit, and there's
Yeah.
Camp Williams. There's a lot of shit in Salt Lake
So
County.
if Fallout happens, like we're getting nuked.
Yeah.
Which we watched Fallout. I mean, did you guys finish it? I finished.
No,
all of
I've
Fallout.
watched four. I've watched
I
four
watched 2
episodes. I think.
episodes.
I won't spoil it for you.
It's so far. I have to say, like it's okay. First off, on the ground level expectations, it's wonderful on
Yeah.
what I expected. I expected just utter garbage. Yeah, it's not glorious, and but all in all, really, really good. Like I think so far, like I watched Critical. The only reason I'm watching it is because Critical Drinker's review was like it's not bad. And his criticism so far, like that's true. Just like there's an awful lot of trees for a nuclear wasteland. But no, like so far, I've been quite.
I listened to the big debate.
Sorry,
There's
go
a
ahead.
big debate between him and Mahler, and Mahler's gets real kind of autistic on logistics and that sort of stuff. And Mahler's
Well, that's
got a point,
Mahler's thing,
with some
though.
of the stuff. Yeah.
There is some plot holage. There's some serious plot holage. Now, I mean, okay, part of the problem, the Fallout universe itself, like the whole setting is broken. Because, like, on the one hand, it's 1950s stuff where it's like, big clunky phones with wires and all this stuff. And it's like Fusion World. So, like, right there, there's just kind of weirdness there,
Yeah, and it's also 1950s, but completely
20
DEI 1950s.
It's 1950 that it's like the 1950s lasted for 120 years.
Yeah, yeah,
In the
that's
game,
a
was
good way
it
to say.
2077 is when the world ends in Fallout, right? If I remember.
Yeah.
They just basically made 1950s and kept like the old computers and integrated.
It's weird. Like, yeah, it's CRT. It's all it's CRT screens and vacuum tubes, but also like fusion power.
They're all fusion powered.
Yeah. Like, I mean, for the video game, it makes sense. Like, one of the things that like why it's nice, it makes sense in the game is like, well, why is there still power in this building in the nuclear holocaust? It's like, oh, it's because they have fusion batteries that last for 1,000 years. Oh, okay. That makes total sense. It's like for the same reason why Voyager still works, because it has a nuclear battery.
Well, so that like some of I file some of these complaints in this part of my head where the same place that there's one of the only funny things I've ever heard Michael Bay say is when Ben Affleck, I guess when they were filming Armageddon, asked him, "Hey, why would it be easier to train a bunch of oil drillers how to be astronauts than it would to train a bunch of astronauts how to drill?" And Michael Bay said, "Because fuck you." That's kind of what I think of when somebody's like, "Oh, but like, why do they use vacuum tubes in old 50s things?" Because fuck you. It looks cool.
Some of those are autistic complaints for sure.
I like watching Mahler videos, but he does every now and then he gets into stuff that I'm like, dude, this is
a lot of his stuff gets into how could you travel there that fast, and if you get into that with especially like Game of Thrones and movies and shows like that, you just be like, oh
one
boy,
of the
well, I
problems
don't
with
want to
the-
take 4.5 months for them to go get to that place.
For me, one of the things that really stuck out with me in the series was the whole plot about how, like, because first off, the 3 vaults that are connected and only meet once every few years, like, okay, that's a neat new Fallout-y idea. Because like part of the whole fun thing about the vaults in Fallout is that every one you get to create your own nightmare scenario. But like,
well, you're also trying to discover the fucked up history of each vault.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the part of it that makes it fun is like when you discover like, oh, what's going on here? Like, there's a whole problem where it's like just like in the TV show, we're like, wait a second, like in the first episode or whatever, so when they open it up and like, okay, none of you guys are old enough to remember last time, and like you don't look at this group of people and go like, wait a second, where's Larry? Where's Bill? Where's like just that security issue there like just seemed dumb, but whatever.
They did briefly say they're like, well, we're sorry to hear about how your overseer passed away. And
but I mean,
like,
even that, like that doesn't.
I know
that wasn't enough to actually like I don't know, make it better.
You're like,
No,
that's
but
weird because the rest of you look fucking different too.
just because you brought up Michael Bay, I don't know. I thought it was so hilarious because my uncle works in movies and he worked with Michael Bay. He blew stuff up on Transformers for Michael Bay, and it's just funny because he says because my uncle says Michael Bay is exactly the person you think he is. He's just there, you know. And I was relating this to my friend at work. You know, I said that's my uncle says that Michael Bay is exactly the person you think he is, and my friend goes, "Oh, that's a relief. I was beginning to worry that I had Michael Bay wrong." That was just the greatest response. I just thought that was just too perfect. That belongs in a TV show.
All I'm saying is Michael Bay sucks, and I miss you. Riso says Star Wars is a great substitute for religious holidays. That's really great. Leslie was mentioning, remember the Seinfeld episode when Jerry asked a mailman where Chinatown is from behind, and then when the mailman turns around, he happens to be an Asian and accuses Jerry of racism, and Jerry later says, "I don't flap the handle when someone asks me where Israel is." And Casey says his friend's sister missionary in DR said the women would go up and touch his hair all the time. When I was on the mission, that's all I got all day long. They thought I was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Women touch me all the time on my mission.
Yeah, my hair endlessly. Microaggressed me is what they done did, and I wanted to bark.
You were sexually assaulted. You're a survivor.
Those ones were not sexual assaults. Unfortunately, that's the place where I would have accepted one. I think sometimes I'm gonna play armchair psychologist a little bit, but I came across some of the Mormon girls who are a little bit, but I don't think they dare to go all the way with what Flip says, is that they kind of have fantasies of rape or whatever. And I think some of the idea is like, well, if that really happened, I could get away with some sex, but I wouldn't have to be responsible for it at all. Like I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't have to say I participated in it anyway.
I mean, I think that, and I think there's something just deeper. Like I don't know, the female need for violence is something so weird. But no, there's undoubtedly that aspect of it of like, oh, it happened to me. I was just a passenger, you know. Like, yeah, no, absolutely. Especially to dip into John Dehlin Kara world, like in the Mormon sexual paradigm, like, I mean, that's one of those things that was it Bill Reel that talked about, like part of the problem with mandatory reporting is this things like, oh, the young girl and the young men went and had consensual sex. Oh no, the young girl's dad got wind of it. So what does the young girl say? Rape.
Well, I'm going to go to the super, super bad route too and say the thing that you probably aren't supposed to say as well. But obviously, there's got to be a part of it too. I mean, part of what Munchausen syndrome is people like the sympathy that they get for being diagnosed with an extreme disease. There has to be some sort of equivalent of that you've been aggressed against in some sort of racist or sexual way that no, you didn't want it or whatever, like maybe there's fantasies or something like that, but now you are in a place to reap societal rewards for it. There's a reason there's a Jussie Smollett in the world. There's a reason why that guy was doing this stuff in the world. There's ulterior benefit.
I thought we all knew that. Like, I thought that everybody just knew that, but they actually don't. Who was
feminists
it?
don't know that.
It was somebody that I remember, like, I liked, and then he asked what possible. It was Sam Harris, I think. What possible motivation could Lazy Ford have for lying?
Mm-hmm.
Are you retarded? I know you're Sam Harris, so you're not. What?
I said a book deal.
Like there's a million motivations for it.
Yeah.
Like I know people that would do it just for the attention, no money.
And all the people who will consider you a political hero. Oh, you
Yeah,
saved the women.
Kidding me?
You saved the women by destroying an innocent man's life.
So there's actually like a Seinfeldian story that goes along with this, because I think just yesterday both Seinfeld and Larry David announced that Hollywood's done and over, and because they can't work around those people anymore, and they're definitely speaking about wokeness and bad writing, and The Amelie director says there can't be a part 2 now because Paris is ugly. There's a lot of people saying that. This is some more info on that hate crime hoax. It was at
Oh.
Baltimore High School. But where's the Seinfeld thing? I'm gonna have to.
I watched this interview from Lord of the Rings with Viggo Mortensen, and he was wearing like a shirt. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically talking about like blood diamonds in Africa. It was like an activistic shirt or whatever. And they asked him about it, and he said, well, I just think people are dying over diamonds and I don't like it or whatever. And I was like, how quaint was that? When like that's the activism we got from celebrities where they're like, I'd like to call attention to this thing that I don't like.
Yeah.
But now the activists just sit there and insult you like for not liking their products and say that like it's because you don't like their identity that you don't like their product. Oh, you just hate saying women and things. No, I don't like you. And you're telling men that they suck. Like, how am I supposed to like that? Like you're hitting me and begging me or demanding that I thank you.
I just read the BBC headline on the leading story. A hard day, Ashley Judd on quashed Weinstein conviction. Like, oh, that due process. Oh, that due process is such a bitch, isn't it, Ashley Judd?
What happened?
One of Harvey Weinstein's rape convictions has been overturned in a new trial.
They overturned it in New York
for a whole slew of constitutional violations.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld calls the movie business over as Hollywood replaces enjoyment with disorientation. And Larry David did also. They both say Hollywood's too woke.
Just to make it clear, it's funny because I do not believe that Harvey Weinstein ever raped anybody because why would he need to?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know
anything about it.
I know we've talked about this before. I think that Harvey Weinstein is a creep and a sleaze.
Power
pest.
pressure. It's like a pressure.
Every single girl that blew that creep for $1 million job is every bit as much of a sexual creep as Harvey Weinstein ever was.
I know. I'm
I
remember
Gwyneth Paltrow. My guess is that Ashley Judd, her entire career is attributable to her having consensual sex with Harvey Weinstein, and because heads I win, tails you lose, she's mad about it.
No, I remember Gwyneth Paltrow coming out and talking about how I had to blow him or something to get a part, and I'm like, okay, you could have just not done that, right?
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have been famous.
might have been
Yeah,
waiting
you're
tables.
right.
Yeah.
He's gross, and I'm sure you're like, wow, what a disgusting sleazebag that he asked me to do that, and then I'm like, yeah, what a disgusting sleazebag that you did that, right?
But is it worse to blow the guy from Coldplay? I don't know.
Oh, was she married to him?
Yeah, she married.
They were for a while.
They're divorced now. She's not.
That's
blowing
also where you
anybody.
got the term conscious uncoupling.
Conscious uncoupling.
Conscious uncoupling.
Also, they named their child Apple.
That's their divorce. Conscious uncoupling.
It's called a divorce. They named their kid Apple. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's a Chris Martin move.
And she sells overpriced rocks that women put in their koozes for magical purposes.
Yeah, her jade vagina eggs.
Another thing, look, and everything. Okay, Gwen, you owe all of your success to that one blowjob for that one creepy guy. But
would you do it again?
Think about that's what I wonder. What about all the actresses that are obviously more talented than Gwyneth Paltrow, who never got a shot because when Harvey Weinstein whipped his dick out, they said, "I'm sorry, I have principles," and they went home to Alabama and they're working at fucking Walgreens now.
I would love to see a book written on that woman.
Yeah,
because there's this great story in early Mormon history about Nancy Rigdon. Nancy Rigdon was one of the biggest badasses in Mormon history because she was 16 years old. Joseph Smith told her that I'm supposed to marry you, and she refused. And her whole family started saying, no, you have to. And he wrote the whole happiness letter about her, saying it was really manipulative shit. And her sister asked her at one point, would you really reject the prophet? And she said, hell yes. I mean, not in those words, but yeah, Nancy Rigdon, one of the badasses from Mormon history. I would love to hear a story about a woman that said "fuck you, Harvey Weinstein," and then gave up an entire promising Hollywood career.
Yeah. No, make $1 million book off.
I don't know if I'd be strong enough to do it. I might blow Harvey Weinstein for like all that money. But
I've always
if I
said
did,
that
I wouldn't then complain about it.
The ones I feel the worst for are the ones that nobody ever knew their names or met or saw in any movies because they just said no.
Well, yeah, and also it's just the whole thing. It's like, because again, like Gwyneth Paltrow, not the worst actress in the world, but not good, not a good actor. No, and like I just imagine that there was probably a very talented, genuine.
Have you smelled her
talent.
vagina candle though?
Oh God! Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Did you hear?
Is she worth $1 billion right now?
How come why do women in Woo get so into vagina, but like men in Woo don't quite get as much into penis? Like any Woo
200 million?
woman starts talking about unlocking her femininity and just like I gotta paint
She had
vaginas
that-
on everything.
She had that whole website called Goop, which was just straight women woo stuff.
Yeah, it was overpriced.
She had a
magic
Netflix,
for the rich.
The Goop Factory.
Did you hear that the Biden administration tripled down on Title IX? Like,
oh boy,
they changed it and clamped down and made it all even more stringent and strict, and included transgender people throughout all of it. Just like
I was just thinking about how Gwyneth Paltrow was the only dark spot in Seven. That movie was an acting tour de force, except for Gwyneth stupid Paltrow.
How dare you say anything positive about Kevin Spacey?
Oh, that's
sir.
right. Oh, wait, he was acquitted. He was acquitted.
Oh, that's right. And there was some weird random thing a little while back where Douglas Murray brought him to some speech and had him like read King Lear at his speech.
Well, Eric Weinstein was talking to him a couple like 2 years ago.
So things like, do I believe that Kevin Spacey is a gay sexual predator? Possibly, but the rapist thing, probably not. I don't think so. I mean,
well, I don't think rape or not. I do think he probably approached underage men like most gay men did.
Probably. Well, here's the other thing: is that on Kevin Spacey's defense, probably most of those underage men were like, "Yes, please. I am Milo Yiannopoulos or someone like him.
George
I will
Takei.
finally fuck you." Yeah, I am Milo Yiannopoulos, George Takei, or one of my coworkers. I'm okay with that.
I saw the FCC reinstated net neutrality. Did you see that? Yeah, just
and
like
they're just like sneaking in all this other stuff while all this like hullabaloo's going on. We haven't shown yet this clip of the more leftist church here.
One step forward. Another step forward. Another step forward.
Oh, Jesus.
We ask that you please respect our privacy and our community guidelines which you have so far disrespected and leave our camp. And one step forward.
Jesus.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah. God damn it! Like I just like if I could, I would just make 10,000 copies of the Hamas Charter and just hand them out. Like, here you go. Here's some reading material for you. Let me know when you get to your favorite part. Just let me know.
Well, I mean, that's most of the shitty shit. I got a couple jokey things. But
Should we do our D'Angelo game?
What's the D'Angelo game?
The D'Angelo game is where you tell me a page number.
I've got
yes.
that game too.
Hold on, let me put up your thing. Degenerate. You get to pick the number this time, Flip.
Wait, let's the audience will pick a number and we'll both do our book. I've got this one.
Wait a minute, I've got we did race stuff. I've got Kimberly Crenshaw's Critical Race Theory over there.
Hey, I got the gender knot, unraveling our patriarchal legacy.
We'll all open to that page and we'll see whose is the most fucking retarded.
So my book goes up to
Troy commented Pele Ale. That's the exact thing I was thinking when those people were repeating all the words.
Okay, my book goes up to 253. Somebody throw a number out there between 1 and 253.
Well,
what's your book go up to?
150.
Oh, really? Jeez, Robin.
My
God damn
book
it. That book
goes-
is a pamphlet. Oh, geez. Your book is a phone book. 135.
490.
Okay. Which
Are we all
paragraph?
doing 135?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do the first paragraph that, like, the beginning of the first paragraph. It's kind of a big one. Okay. So, looking at societies in terms of form and function has its uses, but the idea that something like patriarchy exists because societies need it is something else. In fact, it's nothing but trouble. Because while we reassure ourselves that male dominance is a key aspect of society as we know it, we forget to ask what kind of society would need such a thing and whether we ought to be thinking about changing that. After all, drug addicts need drugs and alcoholics need alcohol to such a degree that they can die if they suddenly go without. But I haven't heard anyone use this to argue in favor of alcoholism or drug addiction. By definition, every social system is a form of social order that solves the problem of order by resisting the tendency of all things to fall apart. Just because a system exists, however, doesn't mean it's a good thing or has to stay the way it is, or that the particular way that it solves the problem of order is inevitable or necessary. If that were so, then all forms of social oppression and misery would be self-justifying. The fuck? So male dominance, society is addicted to male dominance the way an alcoholic is addicted to alcohol. I think that's the gist of that paragraph, which is retarded.
Pretty good.
All righty. What do you guys got?
You want to go or you want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
The Black Nationalist Critique.
Yours is better.
Thus, I'm not making it on this 135. You can show right here. Critical race theory, Kimberly Crenshaw. Thus, within the Black community, there are two separate challenges to the traditional integration policy that has long constituted the major objective of established Negro leadership. There is the general skepticism that the Negro, even after having transformed himself into a white black man, will enjoy full acceptance in American society. And there is the longer range doubt that even should complete integration somehow be achieved, it would prove to be really desirable, for its price may be the total absorption and disappearance of the race, a sort of painless genocide. Understandably, it is the black masses who have most vociferously articulated these dangers of assimilation, for they have watched with alarm as the more fortunate among their ranks have gradually risen to the top, only to be promptly integrated off into the white community, absorbed into another culture, often with undisguised contempt for all that had previously constituted their racial and cultural heritage. Also, it was the black masses who first perceived that integration actually increased the white community's control over the black community by destroying institutions and by absorbing black leadership and coinciding its interests with those of the white community. Such injurious, if unintended, side effects of integration have been felt in almost every layer of the black community.
You literally change white for Jew and black for Aryan, and Hitler could have said that. It's pure. That is exactly what Nazis believed about white or about Jews. That's it.
But
There
it was
is.
like, I mean, Dehlin brought up the busing today. Like, we thought we were trying to integrate the kids for busing. Guess who was against that? John Dehlin. These guys were against that because of this. They didn't want them integrated into the white community.
It turns out they were racist and they don't like white people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What you got, Jared?
Okay. White men, of course, are also racially fragile, but I have not seen their fragility manifest itself in cross-racial discussions as actual crying. Their fragility most commonly shows up. This, by the way, is in the chapter "White Women's Tears," and she goes over the Central Park bird lady thing.
Oh,
another
the guy
book
who
from-
threatened to harm her dog?
That was
Yeah,
written after that?
Wow.
Man, my timing's weird in my brain.
Their fragility
I
most
would-
commonly shows up as varying forms of dominance and intimidation, including these: control of the conversation by speaking first, last, and most often; arrogant and disingenuous invalidation of racial inequality via just playing the devil's advocate; simplistic and presumptuous
dumb facts.
I know. Simplistic and presumptuous proclamations of the answer to racism. People just need to. Playing the outraged victim of reverse racism. Nobody says reverse racism anymore, Lee, okay?
Yeah.
Accusations that the legendary race card is being played. It is. Silence and withdrawal. Hostile. Wait a minute.
No, wait, no. So there you go. There's a heads I win. Tells
Silence
you.
and with.
If you
No,
engage,
it was.
you're a racist. If you shut up and walk away, white supremacy. Heads I win. Tells you.
That's the thing. I was like, holy shit! I got because the very first one is her saying by speaking the most often and the most loud, and then this one is by not speaking.
Yeah, you got
Jesus
something to say,
Christ.
you're a racist. You don't have anything to say, you're a racist.
This
There
book,
it
by
is.
the way, this book is I thumbed through it. This is more like this is more.
Is it really only
marked up.
150 pages?
It's a little bit more than that, but no, it's
Oh,
really short.
No,
It's more marked up than any scriptures I've ever had.
I think, like in my head, I imagined that it was like a 200-300 page book, like it was a book, like 150 pages. That's almost a pamphlet.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So did you guys did you see this clip? You know how everybody's always saying like none of this is Marxism and all that sort of deal. You might have seen this one before.
Pledge to do whatever you can to not work, not go to class, not do research, or otherwise fuck up the functioning of this despicable place until they meet our demands. You all are incredibly smart people who are so knowledgeable about things like post-colonialism, Marxism, and other theories. It is time for you to get out of your libraries and labs and put your theories into action and stand with them. Pledge to do
Well, there you go. Well, no, that's the thing though. Like the whole thing about like, oh, they don't even know what we're talking about when we say Marxism. Like I remember, just 4 weeks ago with my brother, when I brought up like, well, there's the head of the president of the American Library Association is a self-described Marxist, and my brother went, yeah, I know. What's the big deal? And she's like, okay, that's where we're at now.
I wish I could search this just this book right here, just for how many times Marxism is dropped in this book right here. The book that none of them have read and I have read, and they tell me, they explain to me what's not.
And that one, read it, the reading that you just did of that. Oh man, it's giving me flashbacks of Foucault. That is such a fucking nightmare to parse through and like figure out if because sometimes he's just not saying anything at all, but sometimes he's being really subversive, and you got to figure out which of the two he's doing.
Yeah, right. So, what year do you guys think my book was published? Just guessing. If you had to guess,
which one is yours?
It's called The Gender Knot. Unraveling
85.
85? It's not that old, but it is pretty old.
94.
97. Wait, did I just see the word? Okay, because I know I saw it in before, but one of the chapter headings, just to prove it. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. 1997. What's that word? Just like, what are you talking about? What Marxism in colleges? What are you saying? Oh, this textbook? This textbook from 1997? That speaks
really
positively about Marxism?
Anyway, I have a couple of TikToks that are good-hearted jokes between the sexes, or I have one that makes fun of BYU's quarterback who's going to the Broncos.
I have to head out, so
you gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta get
yeah, this wrapping up. Just last couple little jokes. You can bail if you gotta bail though. Thanks for chilling. These are I'll just show these real quick and then we'll bounce out of here. Here's guys and girls making fun of each other by doing each other's workouts. So here it comes. These are girls doing guys' workouts.
I changed, I promise. Yeah! I changed, I promise. Yeah! Can I not have friends that are boys? You can have my whole friend don't even follow her.
No, you don't. Yeah, what
They don't-
You're doing way too much. Right?
Yeah.
So they're just doing. So I'll say the guy one. Maybe you'll get it from the guy.
I understand what they're saying, but what does that have to do with working out?
They're acting like all the things that they do on repeat. They work out to do them. So like, here's the guy one. There's a bunch of these going around.
What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm fine.
She's fine. She's fine.
She's great.
What?
Go have fun.
Yes. He told us this. Go.
I'm cold.
Yes.
Okay, but this one's at least doing the motion.
Come on.
Yeah. This one makes sense. I couldn't understand the other one.
Girl.
Okay, like I get the joke when they do it.
Do you
It's
even
not
love
terribly
me?
funny.
Do you even love me?
Like it looks like they're doing a workout actually.
Do you even love me? Who's this?
Uh-oh.
Who is that? Oh my God.
Caught.
Oops, it's her. Who is that?
Okay, that's getting good.
What do you want to eat?
You pick.
Come on, where do you want to eat? Where do you want to eat?
Okay, that's better. That
So the
makes
guys
sense.
did it
I
better
literally-
again. You're saying
I literally did not
I
understand.
didn't
what they were
understand.
going
Like
for.
they were just like
you
shouting
didn't
out.
get the girls
cliches
doing
that-
it.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. Their motions didn't make any sense because the
Yeah,
dudes
I-
doing the workout actually were doing the motion of the women.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was
here's the
cool.
final minute, and then we can all bail. Zach Wilson, BYU's quarterback, was a bust at Philadelphia. Got traded to the Broncos, and this is a random Broncos fan making a video about that.
All right, boys, welcome your new quarterback, Zach Wilson. Boo! Thank you guys for the warm introduction. It's really big to me that I finally feel like I'm wanted somewhere. Not even close. Not wanted here. And when Denver traded for me, I knew I'm their guy. No, you're not. Not in the slightest. I just want y'all to know, I'm not coming in here expecting to be handed the starting job. I don't think anybody expected that. That's a no-brainer. I'm going to come in and be Zach Wilson. That's probably even worse. Please don't. What's soaking like? Soaking? Yeah, no. You guys want to talk about soaking? All right. Is that cool in Colorado? Hell no. Nah, we're not about that. Oh, it's not. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not about it. No, people don't really do it that often, anyways. Yeah. So I'm excited to meet your mom. I mean, what? Sorry. I'm excited to meet you guys. And get a chance to work with you. Yeah. Hey Zach, what you want our defense to know? Yeah, talk to the D. Yeah, to the defense. I'm looking forward to getting you some bigger contracts, throwing some picks in practice.
I like just because it's in there. Marxian feminism is useful because it shows how economic life in general and capitalism in particular shape gender oppression.
Oh man, I could
useful?
just
Did you
read
see
all
this?
sorts of stuff in Marxism just
Like,
in the first little.
what I like is like
Okay,
their
I
problem
gotta
with Marx.
You can just have a good one. We might just read a little bit more feminism.
Like
here.
the problem with Marxism isn't that there's something wrong with Marxism, but just that it focuses too much on economics. As useful as Marxian feminism is, however, its single-minded focus on economics overlooks the essential patriarchal nature of systems such as feudalism and capitalism. Just like, but there you go, like 1997. If anybody wondered, like, yeah, Marxian feminism's limitations are understandable given its origins. Oh, that's an interesting conceit. Wow. Wait, Marxists also should be credited for recognizing long ago the origins of male dominance. Good job, Marxists. You figured it out.
Man.
Goddamn. All right. Have you got much more?
Yeah, Marxist. No, we'd just be griping about Marxists. There's all sorts of
we could do that
Marxism in this book. Read
we
this.
could just read
Nobody
our
will
book.
ever read this book. I read that book. It's a great big waste of time because then people will say, no, that's not in there. And that's the end of that discussion. And I lose. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. That's about all to go on this week.
All righty.
Thanks for chilling and hanging, everybody.
Cool. We'll see y'all when the stupid happens on Thursday.
Hasta la later.